And before you get started on this episode of Zapped to the Past, we would just like to give a massive shout out to the following people: Andy Marsh, Cole Hutchinson, David Hearn, Sven Osa, 2000 DC, Gary Heather, Roger McNally, Lee Dove, Ben Granville, Mark Fletcher, Etienne Vettingfeld, Niall Bullitt, Alexander Gosling, Tim TJ Walker, Bill Sowerby, Joshua K, Dominic Kendrick, Rune P, Nick James, Daniel Spreadbury, Peter Price, Richard Davey, Dennis B, AL82 Retro, Liam Carew, Dylan Darch, Alistair McMillan, Mark Schutz, Dan Wales, Gary Wilson, Oscar Jacobson, Brian Howarth, Clyde Radcliffe, Adam Askew, Leo Staples, Jason Hutchins, David Stringer, Chris Snowden, David Winter, Mike's Vintage Tech, John Ebbs, Jan Halholm, Runester71, Pete Muller, Samuel Hodgson, and Deadlock. These amazing people have backed our Patreon at the C64 tier, and the support they offer is just plain awesome. If you want to join them, get a mention in next month's shout-out, access to our Discord server, early access to ad-free episodes, along with any special releases we put out, along with anything else we can think of, and sign up by the 18th of the month at patreon.com/Zapped to the Past. For probably well less than the price of a pint of beer, unless you go to Wetherspoons, and then it's probably more than that. So now, on with the show. Welcome to episode 204 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills. I'm joined as always by Mr. Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. Last week, we looked at our first batch of games from issue 81 of Zap 64, which we are, of course, in no way affiliated with, and were killed in many ways in Creatures 2, rolled lonely as a clown in Rolling Ronnie, and bubbled our way to the surface in Bubble Dizzy. This week we continue our look at the games in February 1992, along with what was also shown on UK TV that month. Graham, will this week be equally as good as last week, or is it back to business as normal?
February 1992 just keeps on trucking along, and for the old Commodore 64, which is now getting pretty old at this point, the games are definitely becoming more budgety and less quality. Still, we have more to look at, and so in a month in which Jodler Thomas School of Germany achieved 22 tones and 15 falsettos in a single second, which is some yodel, we take off our 8-bit kimonos, slip on a pair of tabby boots and grab our katanas to go for a wander around the impeccably drawn cityscapes and worlds of, well, somewhere, not as the second, third or indeed fourth, but the first samurai. And after that we take an altogether more confusing trip into Puzzlesville as we go all in on another ball-in-hole game, only this time with sliding tiles too. In the eye-wrenching Tilt. I don't know, 2 games called Tilt on one machine? Who would have thought it? And both seemingly about getting a ball in a hole. And not pinball games. The classic game designs, they never do die, really, do they? So while we contemplate how many modern ball-in-hole variants there are in the gaming world, we take a stroll, run and standing jump into the back and forth world of yet another walk-and-seek adventure. This time, one that's cunningly disguised as a classic Amiga game in the blue-trousered Jonny Quest, before we finally admit that it's 106 miles to Chicago, we've got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes, it's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Yes, we nip to see Murph and the Magic Tones, possibly aiming to get the band back together, and on the way, stop for a think in the Blues Brothers. I have to admit, I love the Blues Brothers film. An absolute classic with memorable dialogue, famous characters, car chases, and of course, brilliant music. You'd never want to get any of that wrong for a C64 game, would you? Would you?
Well, I wouldn't say it's backwards to normal, but it's not, there's not as many good things, I think.
No, it's not, well, I don't think it's as high as last week, is it?
No, it's more hit than miss, but not shit than miss. So,
or not miss and shit, which is a terrible thing to do, which our cat does on a regular bloody basis when she does a dirty protest, I think.
See, this is why you can't trust cats.
You can't. They just go to the litter tray, pull out loads of the litter, and then shit over the edge. It's like,
and then you find them writing letters to all your relatives telling them that you're dead and such. And Bloody cats.
True. And, change the will to leave it to them.
Yeah, exactly.
They're devious. They're very, very devious.
Devious.
Cats. Yeah. So you've heard, you want to join the Patreon? It's already been through. If you've listened to the shout out, join the Patreon.
Yeah,
we have a
join it.
co-fee at co-fee.com/Zapped to the past. If you wish to donate anything as we progress slowly towards the end of the podcast. Well, the end of the podcast in its current form. There are plans afoot. We have plans, don't we, Graham? Unlike
plans within plans, as they say in the film Dune.
Yeah.
The crap Dune, not the modern one.
Or,
I like it, but
and better plans than they had in Battlestar Galactica, where they had no plan.
Had no plan. They were duped by a silent welcoming committee, but they're famous for doing that, though.
That's true, yeah. Baltar.
I still like the fact that there's a casino run by insects. I mean, that's cool. It's never really explained. It's never explained.
It's space. In the infinity of space, anything can happen.
Well, it's an infinite monkeys, isn't there? So there's bound to be a casino run by insects. Why wouldn't you have that?
True. And I watched Interstellar again last night, so I'm well aware that anything can happen.
Oh,
you can appear behind a bookcase.
Yeah, and shout a lot. Actually,
and push
fell asleep once
things
to
through
that film.
And affect gravity in a really weird way.
Well, exactly, yeah, because it can cross dimensions. You see, like time. I fell asleep watching that, and I woke up to him shouting through that bookcase. It was quite unnerving.
You have a penchant for waking up at odd moments in films, though, don't you?
I do.
I remember you telling me the story of when you woke up from fell asleep watching 2001.
Oh, well, that room was bathed in red light, and it's going, I'm losing my mind, Dave. It really put me on a downer for a while, that did. It was, it's just really bleak, that bit. And yet when you wake up and your entire room and this is a bedroom, so I was watching it in bed. I'd fallen asleep, and then when I woke up at that bit, the whole room was bathed in a blood red light. And then she's going, Dave, I'm losing my mind. Dave, I'm like, and I was just like, and it drifted into my transom. I'm like, what's going on? Why is the room so red? And why am I losing my mind? And it put me on a downer. It put me on a right downer, that did.
Yeah. You should stop falling asleep to films.
I can't help it.
Turn them off and go to bed.
I do that. I do, but sometimes I just forget to turn them off. I think, because I don't really remember falling asleep, so it's clearly that. I mean, I've seen Interstellar like a bunch of times, so I really do enjoy it, but it is one of those films with these quite loud moments and then moments of quite serene silence and distant shots of space, and it's like, that looks quite peaceful, that.
Yeah. I'm still in awe of the sequence. The spinning docking sequence is still.
It's amazing. It's just amazing.
It's just so good, that bit. It's just the use of music and the tension and the special effects, everything just works so incredibly well in that bit.
It was. I was lucky enough to go and see that recently at the IMAX, because they did a re-screening of it because it was 10-year anniversary. Couldn't believe it was 10 years old, but there you go.
Oh, it's 10 years old.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, Jesus.
And, I know, that's what I thought. But I went to the IMAX to watch that, and as much as there was a family of small children, well, not a family of small children, somebody with small children in their family came in to watch it and enjoy it. So the 3 and 4-year-olds weren't quite getting the nuances of the gravitational black hole problems and time dilation. Damn them. Why didn't they get that? Apart from that...
you never studied your Einstein?
No, I mean, I absolutely love it. So as much as a lot of people don't like the ending out, I really enjoy it. My wife, on the other hand, I think she went because I was going, which is nice, because I went to see that Amy Winehouse movie that she wanted to see. So I've never really been a fan of Amy Winehouse particularly.
Bit of give and take, what relationships are about, innit? You know?
Yeah, she took me to a film about a drug-addicted pop star or rock star, music star, very talented singer, no doubt. And I took her to a near 3-hour film about time dilation. I think she got the better deal.
And I think you're also giving her a message that's what you felt watching the Amy Winehouse film. time dilation.
I really like that sequence when he comes back and he's got 23 years of footage to watch, and he sits there and all the reactions you see of him in that sequence are real, because he didn't know that we're going to play him. So and I just think it's incredible. It's a really natural thing. It's just I really like that bit. It's really sad as well.
I had a similar experience many years ago, back in the 90s, when my girlfriend at the time wanted to go see Damages at the
Damages.
Yeah, it's that Jeremy Irons, that French one.
Oh my gosh!
She wanted to go see that, and I went okay, and I took her to see The Last Action Hero.
Okay, did she like that?
No,
That's weird, because you think she would.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I think. I think
maybe you dumped her in the foyer, right in the foyer.
Well, I dumped her in the popcorn. Just put her in the popcorn and
put her in the popcorn. Just as you get out into the foyer, it's like, right, I'm not going to see you again because you didn't enjoy that film. See ya.
Get in the popcorn.
Get in the popcorn.
That's a bit different. That's how I've done all my girlfriends. Get in the popcorn.
Get in the popcorn. Yeah, I take them to a movie. If they don't like the movie, dumped right in the popcorn.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, should we get into some games? On that historic
few
note.
to get through. We've got to get through them.
Yeah, we've got 4 this week again. Let's get to our very first one. And that game is First Samurai. It's his first Samurai game. There was no price.
It's not Last Ninja. It's First Samurai. All right.
I'll come to that. Yeah, it's not. It's yeah. He's first on the list, not last. There was no price for this listed in Zapped. I'll come to that in a bit. Why that is? It's got 95% though. Indeed, it's got a whopping 95% score. We have First Samurai, as you rightly point out, not to be confused with the Last Ninja. Not at all. This was
opposite end.
Opposite end, yeah. Eventually, this was released by Imageworks. The developer here is Vivid Image. Imageworks have released a whole load of games before this, including Back to the Futures 2 and 3, Bomboozle, Blasteroids, Fernandez Must Die, quite a few others. They've released quite a bit on the machine. And Vivid Image, they developed the impressive-looking Hammer Fist and Time Machine before this.
Okay.
You remember those two? So coding here is one John Williams, like games 1 and 2, Oink. Seen him loads of times, John Williams.
Okay, yeah, he's popped up time to time.
Yeah, and the visuals and title screens are by Matt Sneap. Cataball, Knuckle Busters, Sanction, Shadow Skimmer. Seen him quite a few times as well, just to mention a few. And the music is by Wally Beban.
Good old Wally Beban.
Mr. Tetris himself. Yeah. Before the C64 version, though, there were quite a few names behind, quite a few games behind this. Originally, and names attached to this. Originally developed for the Amiga, Atari ST, and DOS. The original theme for this whole game came from Paul Doc Doherty. So it had Merv Dink and John Twiddy producing, making the maps, and Raphael Secco, remember him, coded the Amiga version, and Nick Jones did the sound on that. Nick Jones. So
Jones.
That pairing, they'd gone on to work on the Amiga. So it's a talented team who did all this and came up with it all. And when this is re-released for budget in a few months' time, I don't think we'll actually see it. It was given 97%. Oh, we will see it, but we won't talk about it. So it gets a gold medal later on. And Commodore Format ranked the game as the 9th best game on the system.
Okay.
I don't know what they're smoking, drinking, or whatever, but this is supposedly the 9th.
Could be some amounts of sake. Or something like
Wikipedia.
that.
I'm sure it's true. So I'm guessing it's brilliant. However, the release of this was not all plain sailing. According to Moby Games in their trivia section, the Commodore 64 version was originally intended for the C64 GS, a cartridge-based keyboardless console, which was not successful. As Merv Dink commented some years later, Commodore promised so much but delivered so little. There were many mistakes with the whole thing. Compatibility with some games and the lack of decent software all helped its quick demise. The game was instead adapted to be released on cassette and disc, but was delayed when Mirrorsoft folded shortly after the Amiga version was published. Once Vivid Image had reclaimed the rights to the game, it was released by Ubisoft several months later.
Okay.
So
complex.
At this point, this game doesn't come out at this point. It's several months later, but it is reviewed, so it is ready and rating, but it's just there. Anyway, with all that, who and what is the first samurai? Who is this guy? There's a story, of course. In the manual, it says, in a tiny village of ancient Japan, Lord Akira and his young samurai were collecting taxes from the local peasants when the Demon King descended from the mountain. We've all been there. Just doing your job. Yeah. Demon Kings descend. The village was destroyed, all the inhabitants murdered, but the Demon King paid special attention to the warrior lord. I'm presuming that's Lord Akira. 15 minutes later, the young samurai was alone with the demon's final words. Tell them about me. Tell them I'm ready to take back everything that is mine by right. Tell them their true master has returned. With 2 exclamation marks, those.
He's got to remember a lot of stuff to tell him, hasn't he?
Yeah, I know. Hang on, let me get my pen. Let me get my pen out.
What was that first thing to tell him? Sorry, I've got a lot on.
On that cold morning, the young samurai swore revenge for his fallen master. That was after taking notes. For years, the good people of the hills fought the demon as best they could until the wizard mage arrived from the sea and challenged the demon. They fought long and hard atop the Demon King's mountain, lightning and fire keeping the night aglow, until the demon, fearing defeat, escaped into time, hurling himself far into the future where people had forgotten the magic and where he need fear no opposition.
He ended up behind a bookcase shouting at somebody by the sound of it.
Yeah, probably. Gravity. The good people. Merv Dink. The good people were safe, but for the young samurai, there was no rest, for his soul could not be at peace until he avenged his murdered lord. So he begged the mage that he might follow the demon into the future to bring the Demon King back so that he could be destroyed at the foot of his own mountain throne. This was how it began.
Okay.
Time traveling samurai, demon lords in different times. Any similarity to The Last Ninja 2 is purely coincidental. I can assure you of that, my lord.
Yeah, nothing like it.
It's nothing like it. You know, we have the first samurai. They have the Last Ninja. We have a demon lord. They have Lord Am. It's completely different. Very
His
different.
buns have no seeds.
Absolutely. Their swords have no hilts. There's a nice loading. The game is set in the 24th century. It's just odd, but here we are. You know, I don't know why.
Here we go.
Is. I mean, it's pointless, isn't it? Why do all this? You say he escaped.
I have no idea.
He legged it. He legged it and disappeared, and like the mage transported him to wherever he went.
He's scarpered.
I don't know. There's a nice loading screen. It's got the samurai's face and loading music for this. And for brevity, I played the cartridge version of the game because it's a multi-load title. But the multi-load's quite good in this. Once the game is loaded, it's a very simple title screen though, just some text, and it's a little underwhelming for a game in 1992.
Yeah, very simple.
And all you have to do is press fire to load the first level. If you made it that far or know them, you can also enter codes to start. It's the other thing you can do. You can press F1 and you can enter a code to start level 5, level 6, or level 10, or level 9. Sorry, if you know them. There you go. You can do that. First impressions here are pretty good, actually. I will say that there's some great visuals in this game, and that is true for the entire duration. The opening sees your samurai summoned to the future by a nice snaky ball effect. What we call it, a snaky ball effect. And there's some very nice shading and use of colour on the background as you appear. Good use of shadows on the trees and so on. Time has been taken here, and it clearly shows that there's a bit of effort has been put into the visual stylings of this. Your samurai, I guess, about 2 sprites high, is extremely well animated. We'll come to the various moves in a bit. But even his walk animation, I was watching his walk animation, and I like the fact that they've done his legs going in front, in front and behind. It's excellent. No, not just that. It's really good animation on this. It's 2D. It's a 2D game, unlike Last Ninja. So this is a 2D flat on sort of. The game window's at the top of the screen, the UI at the bottom, and it takes up about a quarter of the screen. It's quite big, the UI, with stuff in it that don't really need to be there. I mean, I think it might be holdovers from the Amiga version. So on the left, there's a fist, like a sort of a bottom, it's an arm with a sort of clenched into a fist, and there's a bar underneath it, and that's your energy. Now it says in the instruction manual that the bar, the arm or the fist, something goes down, but it's just actually the bar in the C64 version. I don't know if it's different on the Amiga. Then there's an empty slot. It's the first of 2 empty slots next to that bar. Then in the middle is your remaining lives and score. You get 5 lives. There's a second empty slot to the right of that, and then on the far right, there's a picture of a sword, an image of a sword. And there's another bar underneath this for your magic energy. Like I said, the sword and fist don't do anything here. Just the bars decrease or increase. Controls for this are fairly easy to get to grips with. There's quite a lot of them. Left and right to move, up to jump, down to crouch. Nice and easy. Press and hold fire. Move the joystick in a direction to do an attack move. You can do kicks, punches, all kinds of things. And the game itself is a multi-directional scrolling adventure platformer. And at the start, you're only equipped with your fist, like I said, so you can do punches, high kicks, jump kicks, and leg sweeps, which is good, I guess. If you're wondering where your sword is, it's not appeared yet because it's a magic sword. Only magic swords can travel to the year 2400, I tell you.
Naturally.
You need to punch a few of the enemies that harass you in order to raise your magic meter. When it's about a third of the way full, your sword will magically appear, and you can now swing it about, much in the same way you did your kicks and punches, but you've got, you can sort of hit from behind. There's a low hit, there's a down below one. You do more damage, you got greater reach. Like I said, all of these moves, very well animated. Loads of sprite frames here on display. And I do like this is one of the best things about this game is the animation on the main character. It's a pleasure to watch. Just watch the animation on show. So the game is split into 4 sections, but not 4 levels. In fact, there are 10 levels in all, Graham, 10. So like I said, the game is a multi-load, as noted, but the first load contains the first 4 levels. The second load just has level 5. The third load has levels 6 to 8, and the final load has 9 and 10. Confusing, but
it is.
It's because basically it's 1, 2, 3, 4, but it goes 4, 1, 3, 2 in number of loads. Remember that, because that's the code. You're going to have to remember that. I'm going to test you later on. It's quite impressive, though, I think, especially for this first section, because there's obviously loads of graphical data in that first load. 4 levels that are not tiny is quite the feat. They're quite, they're fairly sizable levels, and there's a lot to plow through. So there's a lot in here. The samurai is quite nimble and can clamber up walls along with all the jumping. So if there's lots of walls to be climbing and jumping around. The first 4 levels see you moving through the odd modern Japanese countryside, which just looks like the old Japanese countryside.
Funny that. Very similar.
Yeah. Level 5 set on a moving train. Things okay. So we're not in ancient Japan
Kansas
now.
anymore, yeah.
6 to 8 sees you moving through the city. For the final 2 levels, sees you moving up to the Demon King's skyscraper before fighting the thing itself, the Demon King himself. Dotted around the levels, there are chests. These little kind of chest things containing items and various weapons that you can use. You need to hack these open with your sword mostly. You can kick them open, doing a leg sweep, but they'll only stay open for a little while until you've kicked them opened them several times. So you want your sword with you at all times. The items range from food, these top up your energy, like bananas and things like that, to lamps. These show hidden chests. There are hidden chests as well. Quite handy to have a lamp. And there are also bells, which I'll come to in a bit. And there are key items again, and I'll come to them in a bit as well, because they're a bit on the fiddly side, and you don't really get told about them, which is a bit of a problem. They may also contain weapons, such as axes and knives and other throwing weapons, which can be thrown by standing still and tapping fire. So if you get them, you just basically stand still, tap fire, and it'll lob them out. There's also the Seeker, they call it. And this circles around you. You sort of hold fire, and that kind of launches around you, and that circles around and attacks any enemies on screen for a short duration, sort of homes in on them and takes them out. It's kind of handy to have if you can get that. You can only have one of these, and they are visible in the empty slot on the left of the UI. Certain points in the levels, you will need to call upon the assistance of the wizard mage who sent you here. These points are denoted by his face flashing on screens, like, ooh, this is flashing face bird, which before I'd read the instructions, I was like, what the hell is that? What's going on? Because I always play it first to see if I can understand it without reading the instructions, but on this one I couldn't. So at this point, you'll need a bell. Those bells you find, they sort of fill up the slot on the right, by the way, and that's the only thing that can go in that right-hand slot is a bell, and you need a bell to call him. And you can collect these, like I said, from certain chests, and when you have one, it will sit in the empty slot on the right. If you have one, tapping space will make the magic happen. Oh, yeah. And if no special items are needed, he will get rid of the obstacle in front of you. So the first one you come across when you're in the first level, there's like a fire that's spewing fire out everywhere, and it'll just drain your energy quickly and kill you off quite quick. So you need to use the bell and the magician before them, and he kind of stops all the flames spitting out so you can get past. That's quite nice and easy. However, sometimes you'll need key items from around the level, and you cannot use the magic until you have collected all of them in order to move on. So, on the first level, you need to collect 4 logs that are scattered in various extreme parts of the level before summoning the mage to use them in order to help you cross a river you cannot pass. When you do this, you get to the end of the level, and you'll find your first boss, a large Chinese dragon-type creature that kind of sort of wobbles about sort of above you and drops flames on you, and you have to keep jumping to either hit it in the head with a sword or your feet if you run out of energy and whatever. You just got to kill it, basically, and move on. And so the first few levels follow this pattern. Level 5, though, sees you on an impressive moving train, as I said. You fight your way to the front of it. Some nice visuals in that section as the sort of background goes whizzing past and you're on this train fighting your way forward. The subsequent levels see you moving through the city, as I said. For my money, not as impressive as the countryside levels. They're still quite nice to look at, but they don't look quite as nice. I would have just made this in the past if I'd have done this. I don't know why they've done this sci-fi malarkey. I don't think it works.
Yeah, I agree.
It just set in the past. You can, climbing temples and stuff like seeing Kung Fu Panda 2, that giant pagoda thing that climbs. Just have big temples and pagodas. It's always better. The game has some good design decisions at times. Like I said, throughout the levels are various pots. When you have plenty of magic energy, you can crouch over these. These actually drain a portion of your magic energy, but make that pot your present checkpoint. I quite like that. You can sort of define where your own checkpoints are. So should you die, then that is where you restart. I don't know if I've mentioned, and I don't know if I do mention, but the way you get your magic up is just by killing the enemies. We'll come to that in a little bit. There are also potions to be found in some of the deeper parts of the level. If you pick them up, they instantly take you back to the last pot you set as your checkpoint. Takes you unawares the first time you do it, but when you're going down to sort of collect some of the key items, which are in the sort of lower parts of some of the level, there's usually a pot nearby or a potion nearby. And if you set your checkpoint back up to the main way through the level, you can get back straight away. I quite like that sort of loop of not having to sort of fight my way back through the entirety of the level. I thought that was quite a nice design decision. We see that in modern games in other ways, shortcuts and things like that. But I thought that was quite nice to see it here. The sword also works in an interesting way as well, and I quite like what they did with the sword. When you're armed with the short sword, if you lose all your energy from being hit by enemies, then the sword is lost, but you regain some of your energy to save yourself from losing a life. Like I think you get back a third or a quarter of your energy back, and that's quite cool. So you're back to your fists, to kill some enemies and raise your magic again to summon the sword. You can kind of, it's kind of like a little last hurrah to try and keep yourself alive. Quite a few times I lost the sword, but managed to fight my way to get it back again and get back into the level. My progress wasn't stopped in that. So it's a nice touch, and I think that works quite well in practice once you get the hang of that. There are also transporters dotted around you need to use to navigate some of the caves. I think you just hold fire when standing over them to activate them, and they'll transport you about. So there's a lot of exploring to do within the levels. Quite a lot of controls in this, as I said, but they all work very well, and it's pretty intuitive to navigate. Once you know what's going on, it's fairly well put together. And when I was reading one of the things that John Twiddy wanted with this, he said he wanted it to feel like you just knew what to do. You didn't have to sort of think about it, and it's all very intuitive in the way that things just work. And I quite, those elements I quite enjoyed. But with all the good stuff and a score of 95%, this must be great, right? Must be great. Not quite. And let's start with the thing I've not mentioned. A couple of things I've not mentioned. There's no in-game music, and this game needs it. It needs something that, imagine Last Ninja without music. It just, or any of them. It needs something along the lines of Last Ninja. It needs a score to give it the atmosphere, the graphics, and, are crying out for. It needs that thing. It needs it. Don't have any, so it feels a little empty in that respect. And so that's a bit of an oversight and a bit of a big one, in my opinion. As long as it plays well, right? And I guess it does, control-wise, but you will get very frustrated with this quite quickly if you're anything like me, because this game never stops. It never sits still. It never allows you to relax. It is constantly bombarding you with enemies.
Yeah, it is.
Constantly, all the time. So you're always swinging the sword and you're always doing stuff, and there's never any downtime aside from when you have a small walk towards the end of level boss. And this is because of the design decision to make restoring your magic meter dependent on you killing enemies. So if there are no enemies to kill, how do you restore your magic? So the game just throws enemies at you all the time, be they flying, crawling, walking, whatever. You're never given time to breathe or stop with the endless wave of creatures coming after you. So this is a problem. And we've said this loads of times before. You can go all the way back. The one that sort of struck to my mind was our Entombed review. Was that episode 4? Yeah. Way back in the day or so. And I said the same thing then. This game would be all right if the enemies would just stop spawning and give me time to breathe and let me explore this, explore this area, this space. But it doesn't. So if you constantly spam the player with enemies, you have no peaks and troughs in your game. It's all peak, and that's not good. And there's no sense of change to the pace. It becomes one note, it becomes rote, and it becomes dull. You may be swinging the sword a lot and killing lots of enemies, but if you're only just doing the same thing, it loses all meaning. It loses all interest. The game needed another way to restore your magic, and thus could have done away with the need for constant enemies. I don't know what it was. I'm not the designer here, but it needed it. It needed that final pass of design, and they've just ported over the Amiga version, clearly. I presume the Amiga version is the same. But here they had some time. It wasn't released. They could have gone back to it and thought, you know what, we could rejig this a little bit and done it. I mean, if you think back, we've seen games that do this. Fist 2, that had its issues. Yeah. It was 6 years ago, but that had placed enemies. But the biggest, easiest one to sort of think of here is Usagi Yojimbo. It's another samurai game. Designed levels, designed enemies in place for you to encounter, and a much better way to raise your karma and so on. This is kind of a similar sort of thing to that, but that game has a way, that music helped. Again, simple bit of music, all it needed, but all the levels were designed, and this is not. The levels are designed, but the enemy placement is just a constant barrage. So it's this game needed a similar system and a similar level of consideration throughout its design phase. It just didn't get it clearly, whatever. But I wonder if that's Rafael Secco. We see that in all his games, all their games. If you think back to Cybernoid and stuff like that and things like that, it's constant enemies all over the place, all the time, forever. That's the design ethos back then. Things have moved on at this point. Yeah. We've seen other games that do it. But it's a shame. So it's a shame, really. It's very easy when making a game to just resort to enemies constantly spawning, even if there are sections of the game where there are different enemies. The point is still the same. It's dead simple. Spawn. That's one of the easiest ways to, that'll do. Rather than take the time and effort to place them effectively. You get a bit into this. They had the sprites and stuff to make them work. After you make your way through the first level, you're instantly beset on level 2 by 2 guys who jump and leap at you and are a pain in the ass. But on killing them, more spawn, which is stupid, and robs the game of any sense of depth, of any kind of verisimilitude, of any kind of feeling that this is a real space. It's just people just spawning out of nowhere. It's stupid. So you just realize, the creatures and stuff, you're thinking, all right, these are magic creatures or what have you. But when it's people, that, you're like, where are these coming from? It's just spamming enemies at you. You gave them a little more thought, placed them through the levels along with the tricky platforming, the fire pits and the like. You have a game that can be learned and mastered rather than endured, which is what this game asks you to do. And that's not, I don't like to endure a game. I like to play it.
Yeah.
There's another issue as well. In the first level, you need to collect 4 logs, as I said, to get across the waterfall at the end. At no point does the game tell you this, nor does it have any kind of display to indicate that this is something you need to do.
No.
I got to the end of the level the first time through, summoned the mage, and nothing happened. I was like, well, I can summon the mage, but nothing's happening. What's going on? I went off, explored a bit. I found one of the logs, but it looked like a piece of meat. I thought it gave me back some health, because obviously I was trying to fight off loads of enemies, so I wasn't paying attention. I went back to the mage, summoned him again, and another bell that I found. A bubble appeared, and a log appeared, but I need 4 of them. That was that. But nothing in the game pointed me to the fact that what I had collected was the solution to the puzzle. There's a little ding. There's a little ding noise, but because this game is so hack slash that ding hack slash hack, you've no idea what's going on. There's nothing in there to sort of, I've done something special. There was nothing there to tell me that. I had to resort to watching a YouTube playthrough to slowly grasp what was going on before I got them all and made my way onwards. The game really needs to communicate something to you about what it wants you to do, and all it really needed was a bit of text. When you try to summon the mage at the water, to work this magic, you need to have the logs to cut across, and you're like, all right, I've got to go find some logs to find the 4 logs. Like I said, there's a fist and a sword in the UI doing nothing. It needed some of that space to say, here's the item to collect. Go find them. When the mage tells you something like, oh, right, you've got to find 4 of these. Right, okay, fine, I'll head off and explore. I would have known what I was doing. Instead, I'm just randomly wandering about the place, wondering what the hell I'm doing. Something to point you in the right direction and indicate that you needed objects to progress. There's something in the manual about special items. It says that, but the game needs to include this as well to keep the player informed of their progression. Because the special items bit in the manual is kind of just a bit vague. So you might have to collect some special items. Don't know what though. Just you might have to. Oh, and when you use your bell, even if it doesn't work, that bell is gone. That's bad. I didn't enjoy that. So you need to go find another one, which meant wading through the endless enemies again. Ugh. So one last thing, please keep scrolling up with the player as well. That's another thing that annoyed me. The jump is faster than the walk, but the scrolling stays at constant speed, which sees you butting up against the side of the screen, which quite often is a pain in the ass because enemies are coming on all the time. And just don't get me started on those stupid grabby frog things. Pain in the ass they are. There's almost a great game here. There really is. Music aside, it looks and plays really well. The platforming is actually really nice and easy. And it's on the player's side. So even near misses usually see you land in place, kind of hook yourself up a little bit and get on. So there's actually, there's some affordance there. And they've thought about these things and they actually work really well. The visuals are excellent. The animation is superb. The little touches like the sword and how that ties to your energy, the controls, the setting of your own checkpoints, all really great ideas. The whole thing's coded brilliantly, really. No real hitches or glitches that I noticed. And some really impressive stuff later on. It therefore pains me to see these forward-thinking elements tied to out-of-date world mechanics, with the constant spawning of enemies making the game feel repetitive in a short space of time, and the lack of signposting for the player on what exactly they need to do. It put me in mind of the early Metroid games and how they had respawning enemies that drop health and rockets and things like that when you're low on them. But in those games, you could clear out rooms and have some downtime. Here, you don't get that. There's none of that. Just a constant wave of annoyance. And so about 2 minutes into level 2, I gave up because my tolerance for the design here had worn my patience out. And so that's it. Some of the graphics are really good. The way the end boss sort of breaks through the wall, the way the wall sort of cracks.
Does look good.
Really nice effect. Yeah, some really, really nice effects in it like that. Just the thought about the sodding enemies. This would have been a real classic and deserving of that 95%. As it is, nope. It's not, because it's a pain to play. One last thing, though. There was a second Samurai game on the Amiga. I had a quick look at that. It seemed a little bit better designed, and it was planned for the C64 as well. But that was in '94. And due to the lack of market, in fact, the C64's market had completely gone by that point, never got beyond the ideas phase. Maybe that game could have ironed out some of the issues. I guess we'll never know because it was never released. I wanted to like this. There was elements of the design that I did like, but the play of this is a boring pain in the ass. So it's a shame. What did you think?
Well, I remember playing the Amiga version of this, and I remember not really getting that far in it. So, and I didn't give it much time. I'd kind of had my fill of this kind of game on the Amiga with things like Shadow of the Beast 2 and stuff like that, where you're a character hopping around on things and picking things up and getting annoyed. So the C64 version, and graphically, this is, again, we're at the top of the tree here. It's beautiful to look at. I mean, it's so beautifully animated and drawn. It's really, really good. I think this actually, if I'm being perfectly honest, this does have, it's first samurai, it's about samurais. This leans so heavily on the game Myth that I found myself looking at it thinking, they've got a really well animated main character hopping on platforms that are kind of in the sky. It looked like Myth, that first level.
Yeah.
And I thought, and it inherited the same problems as Myth, and that was vague with objects. You pick things up and you didn't know whether we were meant to use them, which is a curse of this game, because I spent ages on one part where I was supposed to ring the bell. I'm like, oh, right, I'm meant to ring that to summon something, am I? You don't know these things. You don't do them. would be a great game, but for the spawning enemies, which we've said so many times in the past can ruin a game quick as anything.
Mm-hmm.
And they spawn right on top of you as well. So it's not like you're given time. This is almost Cauldron 2 levels of bloody annoying with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that, Cauldron 2 is, again, a beautiful game to look at, but that was hampered by its complex control system. But of course, that annoying enemies spawn every 2 seconds type thing. And so it seems to be a very common theme that we've made this really elaborate game, really beautiful to look at. The game design's lacking, so fill it with enemies. And that seems to be Mr. Checo's MO, doesn't it? No, it's no wonder he's got an influence here. Likewise, Twiddy, likewise, Doherty. You can sort of see that this game is if not a bit of a Frankenstein of its influences and its artists and people who are involved. And so what you've got is a Frankenstein of a game. Unfortunately, it's not necessarily pulled in the best parts. It's got Abby someone's brain in here, I think, somewhere. It might have an enormous Schwanstucker, but there's other parts
very well
that are
animated
not. So, and very well animated one, yes, very.
It's a pleasure to swig around.
It is, and that is true. I think back to Strider and a game where you're running around jumping on platforms, and that was crap. Remember that horrible 2-stage animation? Whereas this, it's beautiful to look at, a lot like Myth was. So I found myself thinking this was a good game hampered by more or less the same problem I had with Myth. And of course, this is also hampered by, at least Myth had the music, didn't it? Which was amazing. Yeah. So all of the bits that they could have taken from the games that have influenced it. So let's set this in Japan, feudal Japan, like Last Ninja was. Let's put some in-game music in, like Last Ninja had, let's have some kind of system, so let's have some music in the game. Let's have a system of reward and collecting that isn't as vague as Last Ninja, where you have to crouch down and do a poo to pick anything up and all of that sort of stuff, and it's a bit vague. Especially Last Ninja 2, which we called out for having vagarisms of ninja things to do. But let's go down the Usagi Yojimbo road, where you've got legitimate things to say hello to, and you can get karma. And there's so many lessons that it could have learned from the right games, and I feel it learned all the graphic lessons from the right games. The Stormlords and the Myths and the games of that type. But when it came to the design, it just listened to the wrong thing and it went the wrong way. And you can sort of tell by the story. The story's basically Last Ninja 2. I mean, let's be fair. But it's not a very good version of that. It's, and that was not the same much because that was crazy, wasn't it? That one, he just went to his team meeting and then woke up in New York or whatever it was. Random.
We've all been there.
Exactly. So I think, like you, there's elements that are great and visually it's amazing. That train sequence on this is brilliant, hands down. I haven't seen graphics as good as that with the train and the movement or anything since I think Midnight. Was it Midnight? What was it? It wasn't Midnight Resistance. Midnight Resistance had a really good on a truck level, didn't it? Where it was animated like that. There's big things moving.
So.
I think it was.
What was
one of those.
Dragon
anyway.
Ninja.
I can't remember. There was one of them that had a really nice train, but there was a truck sequence as well, and it's just the move in the background with a bit of speed gives it that nice effect. Even things like Catechist had it, didn't it? Turrican 2 rather, when you're in the sci-fi levels where you've just got backgrounds moving at speed and foregrounds. Yeah. It just sets these games apart graphically. But you've got to put a game underneath that, and it can't just be wandering around with a sword. Now, Last Ninja didn't really get away with it either. Now, it's obviously like this, it's kind of held in very high reverie because people are falling for its divine looks. But like with Last Ninja, and don't get me wrong, I'm a huge advocate for that and this in some ways, but you peel back the layers of the game and there's not much there. And what is there is too problematic. And I found that was such a disappointment. So beautiful to look at, but don't fall for that. It's got to be a good game as well. And I'm afraid this isn't. I don't think it should be anywhere near 95% for a game, especially, but I don't know. At the time of the C64's releasing this, it's not rich picking. So when one does come out that's really good looking, I suppose you've got to, rub it gently on the back and massage its feet and stuff and bring its pipe and slippers and stuff. But I wasn't sold on it. I thought, nice video. Shame about the song really with this one. It was a little bit, it was more miss, which is a great shame because obviously a lot of passion and work went into those graphics. But that's, you can't help it. It's otherwise a bit vague and empty, and that isn't the words you want to be saying about a game called First Samurai. It is a stupid name, I think.
Well, in Zap, the final comment, or one of the comments, I can't remember where it is, but it says that it's this year's Turrican 2. Like, it's really not.
Oh, it's really nothing like that. No, it's not even the same thing. I think but that's falling for the looks and not thinking about the game very much so there, whereas that's not the case. I mean, I suppose...
I get why, because it's similar in platforming design and you're going around a multi-scrolling area with enemies and stuff. I get that, but Turrican 2 felt more well designed and considered.
Yeah, Turrican 2 is a better game. and
Yeah,
as well as the
much better.
graphics. So there you go.
There you go. First Samurai, our first review of the week. And we found it wanting. Found it wanting. Let's move on to our second game before we go for a break. And that game, Graham, is for you to tell us. I thought we'd done this before, but it's not. We've had a second game with the name of Tilt. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so this was not the previous Codemasters, I think, did Tilt, isn't it? It's
that guy who can do really good 3D.
Yeah, he did that to you. It was, clever 3D. In fact, Martin Piper did a special video all about it when we asked him to, which was nice of him. He's a very nice fellow. This is Tilt then. $10.99. That's a bit heavy, isn't it? For a puzzle game. This is a puzzle game. It's published by Genius. I wouldn't go that far. I mean, it's a bit rich calling your company Genius, isn't it? But okay. Developed by Interactive, but the coder here is Angelo Righi, and the musician, same person. And he did this game and another game called Smash in 1993, and that was it. So Tilt and Smash are his two games. And maybe there also is power moves for wrestling. Who knows?
So I was thinking something like that, or like crap solicitors.
Yeah. So, but it only scored 46% in Zap, who felt there was issues with it, and they're right, there is. So, what is it then? Well, it's and this is the blurb. I couldn't find any instructions for this because it's very hard to find instructions for this game. I don't know when it was, where it came out, or what, or whenever. I'm guessing this didn't get widely published, really. No. But it says in one of the blurbs I read, it's a puzzle platform action game where the goal is to lead the ball through the maze from the entrance to the exit. It's a ball in hole game. We haven't played them quite a while.
Yay.
Collecting randomly appearing cans and avoiding obstacles such as magnets, red buttons, stop signs, holes, and other traps. Don't let your bonus go low or it will kill you. And the idea is you provide the clear way utilizing these little pipe type tiles to clear a path for the ball to get from A to B. So you've got to move the tiles around in the maze. And it says it's in a way of a famous 15 puzzle game in this blurb. I don't know what that means, really. I don't know if maybe there's a name for it in wherever this was written, because it certainly wasn't written anywhere now. Anyway, as the time flows, the bonus size lowers and you should perform your mission on each level as fast as possible. Logic there. There's several difficulty levels, including the speed of the ball. Number of players can be adjusted to 1 or 2. There is a 2-player cooperative mode for this. And on the 16-bit versions, there is a level designer, which you don't get on the C64, which would have probably helped with its value for money.
Maybe.
So starting the game, you'll see a fairly lively tilt thing. You'll be thinking this is a pinball game when you see that, which sort of sounds like it would be, with an odd version, a derivative version of Funky Town.
It's weird, isn't it?
A little bit. Yeah, it's not terrible. Music's all right. And then you've got a very standard option screen, 1 or 2 player. Check out the high scores in the Hall of Fame. You can change the difficulty level from 1 to 9. Don't do that if you're me, because you'll never do it. It becomes impossible. And you can choose music. Now, I don't know if it's music or effects, because I just kept the music on, because I thought for this kind of thing, it seems obvious.
Yeah.
When the game is started, you are presented with a fairly complicated view of an 8x9 grid in purple and grey tiles, pipe-like tiles, with a series of tiles with different obstacles on, including holes and all the things I previously mentioned. There is almost like a pinball starting position on the bottom right with a ball in it. And that once you start and you get over the ready, ? And go kind of thing, that ball will start to trundle out of its little hole and along the throughways of the pipes that you have control over. The idea then, like I said, you have to shift the tiles around in order to create a pathway so that your ball can get to the place at the end, which is on this instance on the top left of the grid. Okay. Mm-hmm. And therein lies the game. I'll describe the muchness of what goes on, because it is a puzzle game like that, a single screen puzzler with multiple levels to go at. Each level is completely different, obviously, and far more challenging with more obstacles and things like that. They do get quite hard quite quickly as well. And I think ultimately, really, what I'll say here right at the start of all of this is I don't doubt the idea of this in someone's head made sense, because, it makes sort of sense. Slide puzzles, everyone likes slide puzzles. Okay. And what if you had a slide puzzle where you controlled something to get it point to A by operating the slide tiles? Who wouldn't love that? But unfortunately, the reality of making that, it means it's an eyesore and a headache on the C64. The fidelity of the other version is much higher, so the quality of the graphics is better, and it makes a little bit more visual sense quickly. The C64's medium res leanings and its unusual colour scheme of purple, pink and grey don't lend itself to eye-friendly experiences here, I felt. Like I said, music's okay, but the game is a confusing merge of 2 things that don't work, or actually maybe 3 things, really. Kind of super pipeline, as Zap pointed out, I think. Bit of splitting images, really, maybe confusion, I think you said before. It's definitely confusing. I don't know about confusion, but it's definitely confusing about where it wants to be. You can't really control the ball in one player of this. You can control the tiles only. The ball will trundle along in its own way, doing what it's done. Now, you can trap it and you can position the tiles so you can keep it in certain spaces, but controlling the ball, as Zap pointed out in their review, you can't do. You can't actually move the ball with anything, so it just moves. And it starts the minute the level starts as well. On the grid, like I said, you've got a 8x9 grid, and that's sort of on the left-hand side. On the right, you've got the kind of a UI with the logo, the bonus countdown, the level that you're on, number of lives that you've got left, or balls, I suppose, really, and a score. And that's principally what you're going to get on that side. So, like I said, you can't control, in one player at least, you can't control the ball. In two player, one person controls the ball and the other one controls the tiles. And maybe there's fun in that, I don't know, but it sounds to me like just being the ball controller sounds boring and possibly not what you want to say to your mate. Do you want to come around to my house and control my balls? Be like, no, I don't, and I don't know what you're doing or why, and I never want to.
God, you can roll it into a hole.
Well, yeah, I suppose. And what I say is you can't control the ball in the way you might expect. So it would have been better to have staged, so you could do so much of the tiles and then maybe get the ball to a certain point and then do so much. And I suppose you can in a kind of way, but the ball is just going to move regardless. So you need to, like I said, navigate it using the tiles. Now, this is ultimately a slide puzzler. Now, an 8x9 grid slide puzzle is quite a lot of tiles, especially when you've got other obstacles in there. And so the initial start point for this is starting quite hard.
72 tiles, isn't it? That's a lot.
Absolutely. No, it's not like you have to arrange these into an image, which is generally what you'd normally do in these kind of things. But actually arranging these into a maze pattern that makes sense for a ball to traverse through is a really tough ask for any game on the initial level, on level one. So, and so the ball will just kind of go where it's going to go. You don't really have time to comprehend the maze part, really. You don't get, because it's just go. So you don't, in these games, you've got that little bit of ready where it goes ready, but that covers up part of the tiles as well. Now, to control this, you obviously use the joystick to maneuver the tiles left, right, up and down. And it's a slide puzzle, so it's not like you can just pick a tile and move it. You got to kind of navigate your way around the tile space, which isn't easy to do when there's this many bloody tiles. Bear in mind that the ballers are moving and your bonuses are ticking down, and so your life is running out from the very second it starts, which is quite stressful. So this game's stressful. And because you don't have time to fully comprehend the maze part, because you're instantly worried about where the ball is, not where the tiles are, the dynamic of the game is wrong. And you're focusing on the wrong thing initially. And that's misdirection from the game itself. So this is not a control the ball game. This is a place the tiles game, but your reactions are of a control the ball game. And that's something you don't really control. So I find that problematic in this because I find that that's a difficult thing to comprehend and it's a difficult thing to control and enjoy. I don't really like slide puzzles either. This game's not going to be friendly to me. I don't even like the free ones you get in like posh Christmas crackers, really. I don't generally like them. I've never really liked them. Like I said, an 8x9 grid, purple and grey. It's not terrible, this. I won't say, because this all functions well. There's no bugs that I saw or anything like that. The late game logic works for what it is. There's just a lot of tiles to try and figure out. And that, like I said, the UI on the right, that takes up a chunk. So it's not like they're big and well grown. It's a navigatable space, but it reminded me of the board game of Stratego. It's kind of that level of grid, and it's a busy grid on the eye. It's a busy grid to take in. You've got to read this in a very short space of time. And okay, you might persevere and do that. Or you might not. You might just bounce straight off this if you find that particular kind of game mechanic frustrating. So once things start, you start sliding them puzzle tiles around with the joystick, and you've got to position them quickly, and you've got to get that ball moving through. And like I said, you can't hold it in certain areas, but you've got to try and navigate to get it to do that, and then you block it off. But then remember, ultimately, you're then trying to figure out the maze while the countdown's happening, whether the ball's moving or not. And it becomes like you're constantly thinking, right, you're going to get to a certain point when you're not going to get the ball in the right place and the tiles aren't in the right place. And it's just, I think it's overwhelming, or at least it was for me. Some people are good at these things. Maybe it's just not my thing at all anyway. But so, like I said, I didn't find a manual for this. It wasn't difficult to figure out how to control it, I have to say, because there isn't a lot to control. And I just did try and wing it. And the result, really, I was both hopeless and frustrated in seconds at this game. I found it visually ridiculously confusing from the second it starts. And the movements seem illogical, but that's not it's not illogical for the game. It's illogical because you've been misdirected in the game, because it's not a control the ball game. It's a move the tiles game. And that's that not being able to stop that ball or really in any meaningful way. It's just a recipe for frustration. I think ultimately it badly needed of all the games we've played for a long time, this badly needed a softer like a smaller grid. Just start with a small grid, like a 9, like a 3x3 or a 4x4. Just something that, so you get the idea of how you move the tiles and the space and the navigation. And then you could build up to that. So if you get past level 3 or 4, you get 4x4. If you get to level 5, you get 5x5. It makes sense to do it like that. And a lot of games on mobile would have taken that route immediately and do.
Yes.
So there's been lessons learned from this kind of game, is that you cannot throw people in the puzzle games in at the deep end, because they will bounce off the game. It's not that they'll drown. Some people will persevere and get something out of it. Others will just go shoo, and just skim the surface and off they go. And that was me. Mm-hmm. So this is the deep end you swim in. You're not even swimming in it, are you? Not even paddling. You are in it with weights on your ankles, really, with this.
With ball bearings, balls around your ankles.
It is. And you're either particularly adept and you'll get something from this, and you like visual puzzle games and slide games, or you like me, you're going to just, and I found, unless you've got, snake strike levels of timing for this and reactions like that, then you're not going to be able to react quick enough, because that ball moves quicker later in difficulties. The ball moves quicker than you. And so I think it almost renders this game relatively impossible eventually. Mm-hmm. So you might be having fun for a little bit, but I don't think you're going to be having fun for long, for two key reasons. One, I think, like I've said, you're going to skim off it. Two, $10.99, that's going to sting for this. I think it's well-meaning but unforgiving, and it reminded me of a game that from someone I know. I won't say who they are. It isn't you, just for reference, because your games are very good. But it reminded me of someone who'd made a game that I know, and this game was fully published on the iPad. And the issue I had was when they were showing me this game that they developed, they were really amazing at it themselves, really good, and they showed everyone how easy it was. But in reality, they were the only one who could get anywhere with it. Because when you tried it, or not you personally, but when I tried it, I was like, I could never do the things that they're doing. It's because they tuned themselves into that game, but in doing so, it tuned everyone else out. So this game needed refactoring for people who actually want to play it and get something from it. And that means you need an in, and a much softer one. Because of that, too frustrating and too expensive, actually. So it was a no from me, I'm afraid. So you got 4 no's from me. But what about you?
Yeah, I'm not sure of how much of this I could play. I mean, it's relatively simple. It's just a bit boring. Once you get the hang of it, you just slide in puzzles around. But I agree. When you first start it, the ball starts moving, and you it's moving in it from the top left down, and the tile you've got to move is in the top right. That's where your space is. You're like, how do I get a space near to the ball to actually influence anything? It's like, oh, this is ridiculous. And you're right. You need a smaller grid, whether it was just 4x3, even something really small, not 9x8. That's 72 spaces, 71 tiles. That's way too many. You're looking at it going, where's it going? How's it going to go?
It's hard.
It's ridiculous. I did, once I got my head around it a little bit, though, you can cheese it quite easily, I found. So you can basically just get it in a back and forth loop, the ball sort of things. Because you can control it, can't you? Because you hold down the fire button and move left and right, and you can make it go at junctions and stuff. I found the ball that you could do that.
You can't control the ball in it and play one. At least I couldn't. Well,
I was directing the ball.
Me and Zap couldn't. So maybe you've got a special version.
I was directing the ball down.
That's something that neither Zap nor I could do.
I don't know. I've managed to do it. And so at that point, you can just send it off down a dead end, looping back and forth, and just work your way to that to work it. And I found it dead simple. So maybe mine was broke. I don't know. I just played the one that I put in the folder. So I don't know. I just got a little bit tired of it, though. And I think if it didn't have that, then it's way too hard. Because before I did that,
yeah, but I mean, if the excitement of the game is that you have to put the ball into sort of left and right bouncy mode while you figure out the tiles, that's a bit lame, isn't it?
I'm not saying that's good, because I got bored after about 5 screens.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it gets a bit easy if you can do that. I don't know whether you're supposed to, but I don't know. There's the central mechanics that's not strong enough. There's way better single screen ball in hole, or balls moving around single level puzzlers than this.
Yeah,
or any kind of things. Yeah, the original Tilt. Yeah, he's way better than this. Things like that weird one where you had the downfall grid and you had to drop the balls in the coloured balls. That was all right. Atomino or Atomics, whatever it was.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
we've had loads. If you want things that are moving along, go play Super Pipeline.
Yeah, which is better than this.
Yeah, or Pipe Mania. There's just tons.
Pipe Mania, yeah.
And the problem with this is it's £11.
Yeah, pricey.
Put this in a budget package, $2.99 maybe. Okay, you'd forget it, you'd forgive it, and go, all right, I'll have a bit of a crack at this. Okay, £11, no chance. Music was quite jolly though.
Yeah, it's all right.
It had a bouncy, jolly tone to the music, but there's not a lot to this, is there? It's just a ball moving through a series of sliding puzzles. Like,
That's it.
and someone thought that was good enough to make a whole load of. Because at the end of the day, when you get those screens, because you filled it from the outset, they are essentially all the same because it's a sliding block thing. So you can just move them around and get the same thing every time.
Yep.
Just different magnets and stuff on it. Yeah, I'd go play the other Tilt. I think 46% was probably about right because there's not actually that much game here. You know, it all works, but I think you were right. You're right. The person who designed this went, "Oh, it's amazing! I can do this. Look at that." And everyone else went, "Yeah, but why?
Yeah,
why?" And then there you go. There you go. That's Tilt. It's not worth 11 quid.
No, it's
it really
not.
isn't. You know, this is a free iOS game that you'd probably uninstall after about 10 minutes.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, you won't have it on your phone for long.
No. There you go. There you go. That's Tilt. So 2 games. One was ruined by enemies. One was ruined by lack of game.
Yep.
There you go. We're going to go away. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, there's a whole lot of TV to talk about from February 1992. See you then.
The novel Escape from the Commodore 64 by David Hearn is out now. Crash landing on a green planet full of vector graphics, can Sarah find a way to escape for real? Or is she stranded on a planet full of sun, sea, and chippy tea forever? Imagine finding yourself in a cinematic karate game, having to rescue a princess, or remain stuck under the run-stop key forever. What about finding yourself on a space freighter full of robots? Could you clear the decks? If you were transported back to a Wild West town, having to round up outlaws, could you survive until sunset? What if you were a wizard with a cat who must colour worlds? Could you beat the game, or would a virtual guitar solo announce your demise? Sarah might just be another visitor, but she doesn't want to stay a while, never mind forever. Available from Amazon and all good online retailers, discover if there's a way out in Escape from the Commodore 64. Visit davidhearnwriter.com to find out more.
TV. February 1992. What were we watching on the small box in the corner of the room? Well, Graham, on the 6th of February, BBC One airs the documentary Elizabeth R. A Year in the Life of the Queen to mark the 40th anniversary of the Queen's accession to the throne.
Ooh.
You can watch all this. It's on YouTube. The whole 1 hour 40 of it.
Wowza.
It's exactly what you expect.
Yeah, I can
Lots
imagine.
Of, here the Queen is looking at some plans for the trip to Waverley tomorrow. She's very detail oriented, and members of her team have worked out the schedule, and she's asking if there's going to be 3 cakes or 2. That for an hour 40.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Especially it was well received. Filming took place over 18 months. The royal family watched and approved the documentary, the first one they ever had done. And there was actually a VHS video of this released in 1992, and the VHS copy became one of the fastest selling videos in the United Kingdom.
I can imagine it would at that time. This was when the royal family were probably almost at the peak of their popularity, because you post most of the weddings of the time there. So there are a few years on from the weddings.
Pre-Diana's death. But you've also got a lot of young royal family, and there's lots of that going on, wasn't there? And young Harry and William and things like that. And obviously Fergie had been on the scene by this point. And let's not mention the rest of them. Yeah, him who may not be named.
No, I don't want to think about that. But
no.
There was always a bit of a fascination, and there still is. If you watch anything on Channel 5, it's like that. Channel is obsessed with the royals. And where they do those talking heads shows where it's just people. I don't even know where they are now. I don't think anyone does. I think they just randomly go around the streets and just pick a few people. Do you know anything about this subject? Well, a little bit. Come into this room and talk about it, and we'll pick out random sentences that you say and just fill it full of clips. So those clip shows, they've done loads of them. But at that time, the royal family were a bit more of an enigma. This is when millions of people would show up to a Trooping of the Colour, or if Prince Philip was going to go on the balcony and wave a couple of times, people would queue for hours to see it. And they still have a resonance. And it was Elizabeth as well, Queen Elizabeth II, who was a very long-serving monarch, and actually probably out of all of them, quite dedicated to many, many causes that were good. Now, people have different feelings about the royal family, and I'm not here to debate that. You can feel about them whatever way you like. However, at that time, there was quite a popular drive for them. Nowadays, less so, I think, is the best way you can phrase that. Yeah,
probably.
So if you think now about how the family is shattered apart, with some of them living abroad, some of them living in I guess what you call it, just someone living, someone
ignominy.
Yeah, or just in hiding, really. And some of them in denial. It's just Queen Elizabeth II's passing was really the sort of that part, that this era of the family that we're talking about here, that ended there and then, and it will never be the same.
Yeah, no, you'd never have got the interview with the "I can't sweat" under a.
Honestly, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And if you ever want a real horror story, read the poor girl's book. And oh my gosh,
let's move on. Let's move on.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about them.
The happy podcast about Commodore 64 games.
Yeah, it's not about that.
8th to the 22nd of February, the BBC provides live and recorded coverage of the 1992 Winter Olympics from France.
They did.
So I watched the opening title. So they couldn't even get new music. We've used the Ski Sunday music. Cheap
I like
bastards.
the Ski Sunday music.
I love it,
good.
but it's Ski Sunday. It's not the Winter Olympics. Get your own music.
It's good music, though. It is.
Oh, yeah. No. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I said that at the time when we covered Ski Sunday. But get your own. I just copied this bit. I don't know. Bjorn Daly, I don't know how to pronounce that, and Vegard Ulvang dominated the men's cross-country skiing races, both taking home 3 gold medals, with Norway taking a medal sweep in the event. I apologise to any of our Norwegian listeners. I don't know how you pronounce an A and an E that are close together, that are joined together. I don't know how you pronounce that.
Don't know.
16-year-old ski jumper Tony Nieminen became the youngest male gold medalist in a Winter Olympic event until 2002. Petra Kronberger won both the combined event and the slalom of alpine skiing, while Bonnie Blair won both the 500 metres and 1,000 metres speed skating events. And Gunda Nyman took both of the longest races. There was tragedy, though, when Swiss speed skier Nicholas Bokatai died on the penultimate day of the Games when he crashed into a snow grooming vehicle during a training run.
Watch.
I know. Bokatai was a carpenter, was 27 years of age at the time of the accident, and married and 2 children. What a horrible thing to happen.
It's awful, yeah. Absolute tragedy, that.
Yeah.
Dangerous, you see. They're dangerous sports. They are.
Yeah. 15th of February, the television network television premiere of Leonard Nimoy's, I didn't know he directed this, 1987 comedy film, 3 Men and a Baby, on ITV, starring Tom Selleck, Steve Guttenberg, and Ted Danson. We've spoken of this before.
Yeah, I don't want to speak about it again. I never liked it the first time around, let alone putting it. It's the network television premiere. Leonard Nimoy, Spock. Spock!
Let's leave this place. Let's just move on. 19th of February, to outcry and scandal, Channel 4 airs an episode of Dispatches entitled Beyond Belief, claiming to reveal video footage of satanic ritual abuse. The footage is quickly revealed to be a performance art piece by Psychic TV called First Transmission.
It was.
Jesus Christ.
Now, I can't tell you, right, how... When it said to outcry and scandal, this was like properly government level. People mentioned this in Parliament. We need to do something about this crazy stuff. People believed what they saw, and they actually believed it. I found some clips from YouTube of it. I haven't found the full thing because I don't think that's out there anymore. But that's the Dispatches. But they painted this stuff out to be real footage of, and they even got people to reenact sequences from. So, I mean, principally, what happened really there was a particular woman that claimed to be in those sequences, and that she was deeply affected by all of these satanic things that happened. So she was an eyewitness to this, and then they did recreations of it in the classic tradition of doing that. This isn't the real thing; this is a recreation. But I think they put her in the recreations, which is really weird. Something strange like that.
That is odd.
But of course, it was actually it wasn't real. None of it was real, and she was making it up, or at least she was deluded, or whatever. So none of it was real. It was like it said, it was performance art, and it was weird performance art. Don't get me wrong, but performance art is what it was. So, but it was obviously stupid. But somebody at Channel 4 fell for it. And somebody fell for that. And then so it was a cascade of people, unfortunately, falling for something that was actually completely made up. And it wasn't the first time that happened on British TV. You'd be surprised how many times that's happened, especially with Channel 4 over the years. But this is a particularly famous one, and the controversy surrounding it was in the news, for goodness sake, and in the papers. It was heavy stuff at the time.
I don't understand how you get to this point where you think, oh yeah, that looks real.
It prompted police investigations and stuff of certain people and stuff like that, and it wasn't real. It was just people pissing about.
Was there a parliamentary debate? Usually is around these things.
I think there was. It was mentioned. I'm pretty sure it went as high as that. People, we must do something about this satanic ritual abuse that we've seen on this Channel 4 documentary, and it wasn't. It was just people goofing around. Mad.
Jesus Christ. Oh well, there you go. Just outcry and scandal.
Yep.
Anyway, 27th February, BBC One airs Cascade, the sixth series finale of Casualty. The episode, featuring a plane crash and originally scheduled to air on 20th of December 1991, was postponed because the air date fell on the eve of the 3rd anniversary of the Lockerbie air disaster.
Wow, I was like, that's scheduler.
Yep. All right, when's Casualty going out? Oh, the last episode's 20th of December.
That rings a bell.
What's happened? What happens in the last episode? Oh, it's a plane crash. December plane crash. There's what? Hang on a minute. That reminds me of something. Oh crap!
Yeah.
We can't show that. Who thought this was a good idea?
Absolutely crazy, and I mean, I'm glad somebody realised enough time to postpone it. But the fact that they were going to show that at Christmas, the 20th of December. I mean, what are they doing?
Well, it's Casualty, isn't it? Casualty show anything.
Yeah, but what I mean is a lot of people are going on holidays during the holidays.
That's true.
Aren't they? There's people who are going to go and take flights. The last thing they need to see is a bloody plane crash, let alone the poor people of Lockerbie who, experienced the real horror of such a thing. It's just so tasteless and stupid.
Well, how have we already had? Was it before this? We had the Emmerdale plane crash.
Yeah, that's after this, I think. It might be before. I could be wrong. I don't know the lineage of it all. I mean, it's the best thing they did. And the following year, they did the final episode of the 7th series was where Father Christmas was shot down by an Exocet over this, and then the ambulance crew had to go and rescue him, and unfortunately was crushed under his reindeer. No, that's causality for you, though. That is causality.
Well, get this. The Emmerdale plane crash, also known as the Beckedale air disaster, was a storyline for the British soap opera broadcast on ITV. It aired on 30th of December, 1993.
What were they doing at ITV? Some guy there is obsessed with putting them on in December, isn't he?
Yeah, it's the same guy.
I bet it bloody is. I bet it is. I bet you he's like...
It's thwarted me last year. Emmerdale will let me do it. They're more risky on ITV.
It's cathartic. No, it's not. It's horrible. Yeah, Put nice Christmas things on. Nice Christmas things.
Yeah. But,
goodness me.
Yeah. I didn't know it was during Christmas. You can't have plane crashes so soon after a sort of a national trauma that was Lockerbie.
Yeah, I mean, and that was a bad one. It's like they're all bad, obviously, but that was like a really bad thing. So
yeah.
Unbelievable.
Oh, good Lord. Wow, it's not been a happy TV month, has it? Let's see if there's anything better to make us cheer us up in the new shows.
Well, they're trying, aren't they? Because this is like the sea of sitcoms.
Sea of shitcoms.
To make up for January, I think, and obviously now beginning of February or parts of February.
Yeah. 8th of February, there was TV Heaven. This was a series of 13 theme nights shown on Channel 4 in early 1992, celebrating the best of archive British television, hosted by Frank Muir, if you're one of those people. 12 of the evenings, which focused on programmes for a particular year from the 60s or 70s, with one evening focused on programmes for the 1950s. Please tell me that this is the day-to-day attitude tonight, isn't it?
It's totally where they got it from, isn't it? Because Channel 4 did this quite a lot. I mean, this isn't the first time we've had a Channel 4 retrospective of old TV. They've done it before.
Yeah, we had that one where they didn't do Granada for 1992, 1962 or something.
Exactly. Channel 4. And of all the people, Frank Muir.
What was that pairing? What were they called? Remember, ages ago, we had that pair, didn't we?
Was it Scoochie and something?
It was something, yeah. Maybe some of our listeners can remind us, because I can't remember back then, but there was a pair, wasn't there?
There was. I always remember Frank Muir because of not just that impression that you did.
People.
Yeah, but I remember Gary's impression of it. He always did. That was one of his specialties, wasn't it? One of podcast friend Gary's specialties is Frank Muir impressions. I mean, it's niche. It's
that and Ronnie Corbett.
No, there he thinks he can do Ronnie Corbett. That and Cliff Richard, which we're going to get to all of them when he comes on next.
His Ronnie Corbett one is he just basically claps his hands together and rocks back in his seat, isn't it? That's it.
Yeah, he does the actions but not the words, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does bear a remarkable resemblance to Ronnie Corbett, but
he does. Same orthopedic shoes,
same trousers, same
glasses,
Lyle and Scott jumpers.
Yeah, same glasses. I was saying sorry to his mum.
Oh, he really is, yeah. Well, he's not actually. That's the problem. No, anyway, but this is definitely Attitude Night, which I watched again earlier on. Ta-ra, you shitter.
Ta-ra. See you, big hairy cock. Ta-ra, you shitter.
Love it. But yeah, there you go. That's what it was. 9th of February, Maigret was on with what's his face. That. It had him out of the him out of the Singing Detective, the one who's all burnt up. He's in it. Michael Gambon.
Yes, yeah. Yes, it is. I never watched it and I never will.
I never watched this as well. I believe this is the one there's a May grade that's always on ITV3. Is this one?
It'd be that one. They're bound to be.
It must be, yeah. 14th of February. Well, this is wrong, actually. I get these off Wikipedia, and it says there's a show called Witchcraft. It's got the wrong date for this. It's actually 14th of December.
Oh, okay. Right, okay. So that's not the 14th of February.
No, it's not. It's a drama series about a crew making a film about witchcraft. The director gets rather carried away and endangers the lives of the cast. But not too dissimilar to Beyond Belief.
No, actually, very similar. And do you notice we're at the 14th of February, there's nothing about Valentine's Day. It just shows you where everyone's at, doesn't it? And there's no romantic thoughts of any kind.
Well, no, it's just you don't want to put something new on, do it? Everyone's out at the, having romantic meals and stuff. Or
maybe.
A bit of snoochie boochies.
Yeah, a bit of the old slap and tickle.
Yeah,
or maybe they were down the Slap and Tickle, which is a good pub, actually.
Yeah, listening to Snoochie Boochies, the band on.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never liked these, Trevor. Shut up. My favourite band. Slap and Tickle.
Crisps. 55 pence a bag, then, bloody crisps.
Absolutely. I hope they do the best of the song I like. How's your father? 16th February is the Old Boy Network.
Yeah, I watched that.
No, it's a network British comedy television series created by Dick Clement and Ian LaFrennay. They do have movies, ain't Pet?
They did loads of really famous ones, didn't they?
Yeah. This is a parody of various spy films and series. Never heard of it.
I'm sure it is.
Never watched it. Yeah, sure it's crap. 17th February, there was Underbelly. A successful property developer stands trial for corruption, while his best friend, the Minister for Prisons, struggles to quell a protest. Just when both men seem destined to win, fate takes a hand and their lives are changed forever.
Takes a hand off each of them, so they both lose a hand at the wrist.
Calabos!
I can't play golf now.
Just to swing one-handed.
The one-handed swinger, that's a whole different TV show.
Or you could just have a special thing for the thing and just stick the club in it. Yeah,
you could adapt. You could make adaptations to that, but you'll never be allowed in proper cricket. You'll never be allowed in cricket with a golf club.
Well, you just have a wider hold, stick the bat in.
But you're never going to be allowed in competition golf because you're not allowed to use anything other than the actual official grips and gloves. Any deviation from that, and you're barred for life. And you can't do anything about it, and don't try.
Oh, the golf union will come after you. No, break your clubs.
Exactly. It's the first rule of golf clubs.
You got to break my golf clubs.
We're going to break something, Roper.
My golf clubs.
Oh dear. That's a fond memory you brought back there. Yeah.
There you go. And I bet Gary's laughing right now.
Yeah.
No one else.
Give us the money, Roper. We've got to break something. You mean my face? I mean your golf clubs, you idiot.
Oh, there you go. 18th of February was Rides.
Yeah. These are all lasting about a year, you notice. They don't last long.
Yeah, I know. Well, not yet. It's 6 episodes. It lasted 2 series of 6 episodes. This was British television, whatever. A UK-based television production. The series revolved around an all-female taxi firm.
Not a lot of mileage in that, I don't think, but there you go.
The irony. Not a lot of mileage in a taxi firm. Did you mean that?
No, I didn't. That's
probably funnier
pun.
than any jokes in that show. And that's probably true. So
Here, Jan,
February,
pass us those crisps, will you? That's the first line in it, I think.
Oh, this client I had last night, he said to me,
you should be cleaning puke out the back of the car. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but the first episode, she's in the back of the cab wiping out puke. Oh, it stinks in here. Hey, Doris, you got that bleach? There you go. Could have written it. I did write it.
We should do. 18th of February, there was Just Us. I've no idea what the hell this is.
No.
I could find barely anything about this on the internet. I did find the theme, though, to it. It looks really weird. And I don't know if it's
creepy.
British. Just Us was a children's drama series shown on ITV. Episode 1 aired on February 18th. And episode 2, which is all there is, aired on February 25th. I mean, that's short.
That is pretty short, yeah.
18th of February, we've heard of this one. This is Men Behaving Badly.
Yes, we have.
This went for ages, didn't it? Went on for ages.
Well, I thought so. And then when I read it, it was on for 6 years. And I thought it was on for longer than that.
Seems about right for this. Because it was, like you said, first series, Harry Enfield, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
And Martin Clunes. And then it was Neil Morrissey. Nobby! It was Nobby after that. So this is a sort of one of those, it's very, well, I don't think this could have lasted anywhere outside of 1992 to 1998.
No,
it seemed to encapsulate that sort of laddish, loaded FHM
Lad
era of that period. This is that all that stuff wrapped up in a sitcom.
Yeah.
So did you watch it? Did you ever used to watch it?
I didn't watch it religiously. It was one that my brother was massively into this, and he kind of got me onto a few episodes, and I've watched a few, and it was quite funny because there was a good interplay between Clunes' character and obviously Morrissey's, and he was always pining for that girl, wasn't he? And
it was Leslie Ash. Was it Leslie Ash?
Leslie Ash, yeah. So then she converted herself into a duck, which was weird, and then things went downhill from there.
Yeah.
And they made some categorical errors in the production, didn't they? So they ended up with, because it was always light-hearted and fun until there's certain things happened that weren't. When Martin Clunes' character cheated on his partner, it sort of...
Carolyn Quinton, wasn't it?
Yeah, so in the TV show, he cheated on her, and
I don't remember
and it kind of ruins the dynamic between them a bit, and and there was a lot of things like that, and then ultimately Neil Morris's character gets the girl, which he's been pining after, and then after that, it's like there was nowhere for it to go after that. It kind of ruined it a bit. So, but it was episodes that are quite funny, and he's always drinking Stella, isn't he? And famously sat there with a can of Stella, getting drunk and.
Yeah, they're just drunk lads being lads in the mid-1990s.
It felt to me it was like a more scripted version of Bottom with less slapstick in it and more sort of laddie humour.
Yeah. It's like they were trying to distill Loaded for a BBC One audience.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yep.
Yeah. 22nd of February was the Brian Conley show.
Yeah, it's a puppet. I never really liked Brian Conley that much, really.
No, it's ran for quite a while though, 92 to 2002.
Yeah, it was popular because it was that kind of light entertainment.
Yeah, it's very sort of not vaudeville, but I don't know what's the word I'm looking for.
Classic British sort of comedy a la. There's loads of people. What's his name? All right, he did all that kind of stuff as well, and Barrymore and people like that. They're very of that ilk. Barrymore's I remember Brian Conley having that
look where he sort of do his lips or something and look at the screen.
Yeah, that kind of thing. He's very much and he famously did It's a Puppet, didn't he? He did like a piss take of the children's TV with a puppet show with a puppet in it, like a. And also, of course, but it is that type of humour, and you don't see so much of it now. Don't really have that kind of thing so much now. More panel shows now than ever before.
Well, I think Michael McIntyre has moved into that space.
Well,
with his
big
game
show
shows and
maybe.
stuff, the big wheel, that wheel.
I hate that show so much. I hate it.
Yeah, it's crap. And the big show, but the big show is just Crinkly Bottom. It's just Noel's house party.
It is, yeah, it is. I mean, this kind of where it's more like mini sketches and stuff like that. It's very much in the Freddie Starr used to do something like that, and then it was.
Are you saying this is quite similar to Russ Abbott?
Yeah, Russ Abbott would be another example of it. That sort of thing. Right.
Okay.
Kenny Everett, many moons before that, did it way better.
Yeah. Okay, I'm aware. Yeah, I vaguely remember it, but I never watched it.
Yeah, and I didn't watch it. So.
23rd of February, there was So Haunt Me.
Sounds so stupid.
This is a British television sitcom. A family moves into a home occupied by the ghost of its previous resident, who is a middle-aged Jewish mother. The show was created by Paul Manson. It created the successful sitcoms May to December and My Hero. So you can see where this is going. 3 series it ran for. I've never heard of it, never watched it.
No, I bet it starts with the guy put in blue striped pajamas trying to pick up toast off the floor.
But then the ghost keeps throwing it back onto the floor off his plate. Oh, I'm a ghost.
Just to give it a Rent-A-Ghost. That was like the Rent-A-Ghost version. I admire anyone who brings Rent-A-Ghost into anything, and you did a Rent-A-Ghost sound then.
Yeah, well, I did like.
We went full Claypole, isn't that?
Rent-A-Ghost.
If your house is not haunted,
I'd rent a ghost. The Phantom of the Opera
sings a haunted melody.
Anyway, I bet Rent-A-Ghost was better than So Haunt Me, I bet.
Yes,
anyway. 24th of February, there's Mulberry. This sounds weird.
Okay,
Why haven't I ever heard of it? It's a fantasy sitcom. That's not weird you normally see together, is it?
No.
Written by John Esmond, Bob Larry, aired on BBC One in the early 90s. It ran for 2 series. And then after the second series, it was cancelled. The third series was planned and it would have concluded the story and wrap up the plot lines. That had been the first 2, but was cancelled. So it never had a conclusion.
No.
And you thought that was just a Netflix thing.
Yeah. Now, no idea what Mulberry was about, because that's straight. The blurb we've got there is from the wiki, and the wiki clearly doesn't know what it's about either. So
no one does. I wonder if IMDb does. Hang on a minute. Let me have a look.
Mulberry.
I'm going to do
Mulberry.
Mulberry, is it? Mulberry 1992. Have a look.
Yeah.
what does IMDb see? This one, the son of death and springtime is sent to collect the acerbic and reclusive Miss Farnaby. He joins the staff in her manor house, becomes her personal servant, and endeavours to help her enjoy life during her 3-month extension.
Right.
Someone who's starts his career as a Grim Reaper's apprentice when he's sent to collect the acerbic. What will happen when the 3-month expansion given by death happens? We'll never know.
Nothing good.
It didn't
We
finish.
never know. Nope.
That was Mulberry. That was the plot.
Mm,
Who was in it? He looks familiar. It's got Carl Howman, Jacko from Brushstrokes.
great. That's another show I didn't watch.
Oh, you know Jacko though. Everyone knows Jacko. Anyway, 27th of February there was Us Girls, or is it US Girls? I think it's Us. Another
Girls.
sitcom about the culture gap among 3 generations of West Indian women. Never watched it. Never heard of it.
No, never heard of that one.
No. And finally, on the 28th of February, there was Growing Rich. For school leavers Laura, Annie, and Carmen, life in East Anglia is as dull as it gets. The only options are marriage to the boy next door or work in the local poultry factory. How are they going to find love and riches? It starred Martin Kemp.
It's the Chicken Man.
As the owner of the chicken factory.
Exactly.
Oi, get in there and get plucking.
He's a plucky fellow.
He is. He does. He likes to pluck. Plucks the strings, doesn't he?
He's a pheasant
Plucks that
plucker.
bass. He's a bass plucker, isn't he? Bass plucker.
He is a bass plucker.
Oh, that's not a good month of telly, is it?
Good job. February's short, isn't it?
Yeah, we can move on to
I
March.
think they win
and
the
hope-
award there for the most amount of crap they've launched in one short month.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
so many new shows, all of them rubbish. Imagine the lineup when they advertise the lineup on, and this winter coming on ITV.
This festive February. Or,
Festive February, yeah, it'd be like, frosty February. And you're like,
fun-filled February.
yeah, funless February, I think there's.
Yeah.
Rubbish.
Well, they're up against, the big guns of Sky and stuff now, aren't they, with their sort of the TV.
Yeah, and they were
they've got
stealing
they've
all
got
the
to come out with
licenses.
the big hits, and unfortunately, the biggest one is Men Behaving Badly. At least that lasted a while, and people remember.
Yeah, that was a big success.
None of the others. Brian Connolly, I suppose, went on for quite a while.
Yeah,
Nobody's
he did. He
pleasure.
couldn't be stopped. Couldn't be
No, he
stopped.
couldn't. There we go. That's your TV. We're sorry. We're going to go away, take a break. We come back. We still have 2 more games to get through before this episode is over. See you in a bit.
The novel Escape from the Commodore 64 by David Hearn is out now. Growing up in the 80s is a chore for Sarah, who feels misunderstood by her parents and badgered by Reese, her bothersome brother who incessantly prattles on about his treasured computer games. When Reese tells her one of the games tried to pull him inside the computer, she laughs off his fanciful fib. She waggles the joystick to disprove his fairy tale and is pulled into the computer. Now trapped in games she'd never had any interest in playing, how can she possibly beat them? With the help of feisty Nell, another trapped player, can Sarah find her way back home, or is it game over? An evil madman, a hostile planet, bloodthirsty robots, a never-ending throng of karate experts, and relentless digital soldiers will do their best to ensure Sarah never escapes. Available from Amazon and all good online retailers, find out if there's a way out of the beige bread bin of betrayal for Sarah in Escape from the Commodore 64.
And we are back. 2 more games before this episode is done. And the first of those games, Graham, is Jonny Quest. Get your titters out of the way right here. Get them out of the way. It's Jonny Quest, because we're looking at Jonny Quest. And this could have been yours for the princely sum of £3.99 budget title. Came out in Amstrad, Spectrum and C64, published by High Tech. We've seen them before. Copyright PAL Developments, we've seen them before. Digital Design being the developer. We know who that means. Its coders are David Saunders and Nick Taylor. Visuals by Ashley Routledge. Ash and Dave. Ash and Dave and Nick. They've got a Nick now. Ash, Dave, Nick. We've seen them on loads of things before this.
We have.
And probably still have some stuff to see them on yet, I guess. Slicks, I think, is one I seem to think.
Yeah,
at
Slicks.
some point. I'd never heard of Jonny Quest. I find that hard to believe, but I'd never heard of this. The hell is it? What the hell is Jonny Quest? Anyway, from the wiki, Jonny Quest is a science fiction adventure media franchise created by Doug Wildey for Hanna-Barbera. It follows the character Jonny Quest, a young boy who joins his scientist father on various extraordinary adventures. The franchise started with a 1964-65 television series of the same name and has come to include 2 sequel television series, 2 television films, and 3 video games.
Crikey.
I know. The second TV series was The New Adventures of Jonny Quest. That was aired in 86, 87. I think it was probably that series that inspired this game. Probably brought it back to people's attention. Maybe. I have no real idea. It just seems to fit the timeline. But yeah, so there you go. That's what Jonny Quest is. And according to the inlay of the box for this game, Jonny is the only son of Dr. Benton Quest, one of the world's top scientists. Ever in danger of being kidnapped by forces trying to control his father, Jonny is looked after by a US government-appointed bodyguard, Race Bannon. Now, there's an American name I can get behind. Race Bannon. This, however, does not stop Jonny and his mystical Indian friend, Hadji, that took a turn, along with Jonny's pet dog, Bandit, getting into all sorts of hair-raising adventures. The plot, then, for this game. Jonny's father, Benton Quest, has been captured by the evil Dr. Zinn and is being forced to help create a deadly laser. Jonny, Race, Hadji, and Bandit set off to rescue the captured scientist. However, things don't go according to plan. Race, Hadji, and Bandit are captured by Dr. Zinn's guards, and Jonny must continue on alone to free them all. There you go. That's Jonny Quest.
Here it is.
There's a little bit more it says about the game. You play the part of Jonny Quest in this arcade action adventure. Action. Use all your skill and courage to free your father and friends. During the game, you will come across many obstacles which you have to overcome. At your disposal, you'll have a selection of items to help fight your enemies, and you'll also find things along the way which you can use. Some of the items you must find include a laser stun gun, torch, diving equipment, a decoder for computer terminals, and dynamite for unblocking entrances. That's kind of it. You know, this is budget packaging. It's like, oh, okay, what am I doing? Okay, right, fine. So this is a rather traditional arcade adventure. And from a design point, wouldn't have looked too out of place in 1985, really, for similar sort of game. The game starts with a rather basic title screen. It's got a logo at the top, some credits that flick from the developer to the studio, you know, the people who made it and things like that. There's bugger all else to do. So we get to the game. So one of the things you'll notice about the game is how quiet it is. You know, it's just like the Bjork. It's so quiet. There's no music. There's no music. I know we usually get music, don't we, from Ash, don't we? Usually.
Yeah. Normally have
so
music
there's none, yeah, there's no music on the title screen. There's no music in game. And the sound effects are so few and far between. I thought my copy was broken. So I thought, is this bust? Is the sound not playing? But then it did make a sound. It's just very quiet. Every now and again, it's like, shh, dude. Like, oh, it's so quiet. So the game itself is a flick screen walk and seek puzzle game, I guess, with you playing as the titular Jonny Quest. Your aim is to wander around the various rooms and locations, finding objects such as keys, torches, batteries, knives, and so on to help save your dad and chums. Jonny's a little more active than what we normally see in these types of games, with the ability to move left and right and even run with a double tap of the joystick in the desired direction, which is quite handy. He can also jump mighty leaps. We're not seeing a mighty leap in a game for a while, have we? This has got proper mighty leap in.
Heroic.
By holding he's massive. You can hold the up button. It's got, you know, you can do small tap for short jumps and hold it up for big old long jumps. Even from a standing start, this kid can jump, man. You pick stuff up with down, and that's about it. You know, it's one of those games. You'll know this as soon as you start. I think everyone's a Wally, Pajama, you know, those. It's one of them. It's did 1992. There are 5 levels to get through. I think the first is his house, I think. It's hard to know. I can't find a description of actually where you are, but I think it's his house. You get through that bit, you find a way down into a sci-fi lab underneath it. That's the second level. Make your way through that. You see you're making your way through some caves. The fourth sees you in aqua gear as you swim around underwater. So God knows where you're going for some reason. Finally, you're in another lab. You find your father and stop the evil Zinn's plans. And then there's actually quite a nice sort of ending screen to this. I don't know if it's a multi-load because I didn't get past the first level, and I watched the video on YouTube, and it's like, I have no idea. It could be a multi-load. It probably is because the levels are very big. And there's like an ending to this where you blow up the satellite. You see a picture of Earth and it blows up the satellite. That's quite nicely done, you know. So, you know, there's a decent length to the game if you're into these things. And if you are, I reckon £4 would be quite the bargain for this. You know, it's quite well put together. The locations are replete with henchmen and then robots as you move around them. We're all trying to kill you. So there's a little bit of challenge here. It's not just all just running and, you know, picking up and stuff. You've got to avoid the robots and things and just leg it past them. The game looks okay. UI at the bottom showing a portrait of one of the characters on the left and your 4 inventory slots for items. What you are using is the one on the left. and these can be cycled by pulling down. So, and you automatically use them as well. So if you have a key in that slot and you run it to a door, it'll just automatically unlock it. That's quite nice. You don't have to worry about if you've got the right object in that slot, it'll just use it, and that's quite good. It's got the logo of the show on the right in case you forgot that you're playing a Jonny Quest game. I don't know. At the very bottom, there's a text readout showing the percentage completed, which is, again, just gets updates as you go along. I'd barely done anything, and it said 7% though, so I was like, oh, okay. You go collect the first couple of items, get back into the house, and it's like, oh, you've done 7%. I was like, okay. And above the items is your health bar. Above all that, there's just a really thin sort of strip across the top. It's quite long, but it goes down. Take a punch from anyone, it's like it goes down like a third. It's like, oh, okay. And the game takes up the rest of the screen. You got some fight moves as well, with fire and left or right doing a punch, and down diagonal doing a shin kick, a la Bob Winner or Win Bobner. Didn't seem to do much though. Whenever I got into a fight, I just got the shit kicked out of me, and I couldn't actually harm them. But then at one point, I just ran past them and then hit them, and they collapsed to the floor. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I think the combat seems rudimentary and pointless. I don't really think it adds anything to this because it doesn't do anything. So I'm not quite sure why it's there. So yeah, and then, like I said, they just killed me quite quickly. I started again. Okay. And it led to game over. The visuals are okay. There's a nice main sprite. It's quite big, and the animations are quite good. The jumping animation, the animated henchmen. I haven't got any faces though, which is a bit weird. There's just a pink space where a face would be. But they're all, they walk about. It's quite nice animation. What you come to expect from these guys that's got a budget range. Backdrops are also quite well done, although a little bit sparse. There's a decent sense of scale, I guess, as you move around some of these sort of labs and things as you watch them and going swimming underwater. So there's variety here. So there's a decent sense of scale and pace. It's a double act you never knew you wanted. So my only issue is that you'll see those opening screens a lot if you persist with this, because there's no save function or password. So death, and on those late levels, you're probably going to die quite quickly because there's robots and stuff moving around. Back to the beginning with you, and that's going to be a pain in the ass. Back in the day, you might have been more forgivable about that. And you bought this for £4, it might be all you had, and you just keep having a crack at it to get a bit further and a bit further, and you come back to it and you get a bit further, and if you like these sort of things. But you do need to like this kind of walk and seek and find the object to do the thing in the place, and get that kind of to persevere with this, because there's nothing else here. The combat, as I said, is pointless and rudimentary. The graphics are okay. There's no sound effects. There's no music. It needed music because it's so empty. If it had a decent bit of tune to this, you'd go, all right, I'll play this, and there's a bit of atmosphere and a bit of music going along. But there isn't. So you've really got to like a very quiet, kind of sedate adventure if you want to dig this. And it's a bit too sedate and a little bit boring. It lacks really any sense of fun or life to keep you captivated for very long. And I was like, oh, this is just a bit dull. There's better things I can be doing in my life than trying to sort of work this Jonny Quest game. So I turned it off after midway through the first level because I was just a bit bored. What about you?
Yeah, the first thing that struck me with this is how much they'd clearly seen Flashback at some point on the Amiga, because that came out in 1992.
Yeah, actually, yes. I thought that I didn't know if that was out yet. So
no, it's not. But obviously, Prince of Persia was a big influence on Flashback and Another World.
Yeah, so Prince of Persia is a good sighting, actually, yeah.
But Flashback, it looks like the main character in Flashback. If you look at the Amiga version, that's the main guy, and it's got blue trousers with a brown jacket on.
Yeah, I didn't make that connection, but yeah, that's a good point, really good point.
But obviously so they've definitely seen that. There's no doubt, it cannot be a coincidence, because it's very similar. He walks similarly. You can walk, and if you double tap, he runs. You can do standing jumps. But they've ripped off Flashback, and they've thought, what can we do? So I think actually they did this as a little tech test where they tested. No, we can do that. We could do a version of that on the C64, and then that was it. And then put this kind of dull game into it, which is just a boring walk and seek game. Ultimately,
that's a really good point. Yeah. Surprised I didn't notice that, but yeah, good to know.
But other than the fact that it looks nice, and I was quite intrigued by that, and the idea that they could have done so much with that, and there were some really nice little touches to it. The game itself was lacking in everything else. And the enemies are stupid. I mean, I punched one guy, and they do get up again. It was just stupid. The fighting was really daft.
Yeah.
But this proved a couple of things. So, as much as there was no game here, as a tech demo or a tech test, this was pretty good. This was showing off some nice stuff. It just, had they thought to put a game to this, I mean, they obviously never did. I think that they probably could have made this into something really interesting. But because it's just somebody wandering around the garden, really, and going down the cave to get the key to go back to open the door to go into the thing. Graphically nice, probably plenty of screens. we've seen this kind of game. We haven't seen this kind of look of game. It's such a trope at the moment. Nice graphics, nothing else. It's empty. But it had the look of something that could have been really good. It just didn't have the game to back it up. So you're paying £4 for what is essentially a tech demo, I think. And it's a nice looking one, but there's nothing else to it. And I there's nothing to enjoy. I wandered to the left, climbed down, picked up a key, walked back to the left. So I walked to the left, went down, talked to the right, pick up a key, walk back to the left, go up, open the door, go through into the other room, and then I punched somebody in the face. And I was like, this is going to be more of this.
It is, yeah.
And I thought, it's not for me. I like the way it looks, but there's nothing else to it. So 78%, I think that's extremely generous. You're scoring that more than Swiv on nearing Swiv's mark. I mean, come on, it's nice looking, but there's nothing in there. It's empty. So that's how I scored it. It was an unfinished tech demo from what I could gather, and nice looking, but nothing else.
Yeah, it's certainly lacking on content and everything like that. But that's a really good call about Flashback. It does look like Flashback, and they could have made it look. They could have done Prince of Persia.
You could have made Flashback. You could have made a game like it easily.
Or Prince of Persia.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, obviously we do get 64 Prince of Persia well later, don't we? But
way later.
This could have been it. I wonder if
that was an Apple II game originally, Prince of Persia. So maybe they saw that, but they've definitely seen one of those games without a doubt. And just the colour of those sprites. Unless Flashback saw this, you never know. Could be the way around. I doubt that very much, but
maybe. There you go. That's Jonny Quest. It's just a bit empty.
Empty.
But
Very
nice
empty.
Nice tech. Let's move on to our last game of the week. Graham, and it's over to you to tell us about everybody. It's the Blues Brothers.
It is the Blues Brothers. That music's way better than the music in the game. I'll come to that. Blues Brothers then, 10.99 again, full whack. This was 91%. I believe it was a Sizzler.
Yes, it was. Yeah, definitely a Sizzler.
And it was released in, obviously, 1991, published by Titus. You remember him, Titus. Now, there's some interesting stuff about the development of this. Or the developers. So the developer is written in Lemon as 221B Software Developments. And they're also credited with Dalek Attack and the Jetsons. And it's also credited to CTA Developments, who did Sleepwalker for Ocean. Now, those are actually three people. Those are John Scott for programming, Richard Cheek for art direction, and the producer for this game was David Vout. The musician, Paul Tankard, he also did Dalek Attack and Suburban Commando. Some of those games I don't think will come out a bit later. They're not out yet. We've not looked at them yet. Now, the reason I mentioned those names are interesting. So, just because what happened to those people? Where did they ended up? Because at least two of those people are still working in the games industry today. Oh. So let's take John Scott, for example, who was classified as the programmer for this, the lead programmer. He had actually done additional programming on Gears of War 2, Quake 4, Unreal Tournament, Gears of War 3, Bulletstorm. Latterly, the most recent one is MLB The Show 24 on the PlayStation 5. So and that's the senior programming. So he went on to quite the career in programming video games, and his credit list is quite long. It's 37 games, but still going strong. Mm-hmm. Most interesting. Richard Cheek, on the other hand, he did Skate or Die on the Spectrum. Then he suddenly jumps to Unreal. He did Sleepwalker on the Amiga. Most of these are animations, but that ultimately leads up to Call of Duty 2 and Call of Duty 2, the Game of the Year edition, and then Sam & Max in 2021. So up till fairly recently, also still making and doing stuff and technical animation, character rigging, and still in the games industry, still making the games. That's pretty exciting, isn't it? Uh-huh. David Vout, who was the producer here, who produced originally, he did the programming for Space Area 2 way back when on the C64. But also he's gone on to do things like Tony Hawk's Skater Pro on the Game Boy Color, and ultimately Dead Island 2 in 2023. He was the lead producer for that on the Windows version. So they're all still sort of doing stuff. Quite interesting, I thought that. Yeah. So, it just shows you that these coders, some of them don't just disappear. They're still going strong, as it were. Strong. Okay, so Blues Brothers then. Well, obviously, the Blues Brothers film is a classic American musical comedy directed by John Landis and starring John Belushi as Juliet Jake Blues and Dan Aykroyd as his brother Elwood Blues. The film follows the pair after Jake's release from prison as they embark on a chaotic music-filled mission to save the Catholic orphanage where they were raised. To raise the money legitimately, they decide to reunite their old blues band and stage a concert, a plan that spirals into a series of over-the-top car chases, very over-the-top, run-ins with the police and encounters with colourful characters all across Chicago, including country and western stars and a whole bunch of stuff. The key cast, of course, famously John Belushi as Joliet Jake, Dan Aykroyd, as I said, Elwood Blues, Carrie Fisher, the mysterious woman who plays John Belushi's Jake's ex-girlfriend, angry ex-girlfriend.
Yep.
John Candy is in there, of course. He plays the police guy, Burton Mercer, his name is. You've got Henry Gibson as the famous Illinois Nazi. Kathleen Freeman as Sister Mary Stigmata, the penguin, as she's known in that. And of course, famous legendary musicians, including Aretha Franklin, James Brown, Ray Charles, John Lee Hooker, Cab Calloway, to name but several, let alone the band that he's in, which has got some really famous musicians in there. Matt Murphy, Donald Duck Dunn, Willie Two Big Hall, Jim Bones Malone, I think it is, or whatever. They're all in there. I think I'm making those names up, aren't you? Obviously, it's famous for its deadpan humor, explosive car chases, and of course, the amazing soundtrack. The Blues Brothers is a cult classic and one of the defining musical comedies of the 20th century. And so say all of us. Thank you very much. That's the Blues Brothers. The Blues Brothers. So a bit late to the day for the game, but here we are. The game came out. This was released on DOS, Amiga, Atari ST, Commodore 64, Amstrad CPC, Game Boy, and NES. And I think this is probably leaning in on that NES version pretty damn heavily, I reckon. What do you reckon?
Yeah, probably. I would think so too.
Now, as much as I found some instructions for this, the instructions had the world's shortest blurb. So I'll just go from the back of the C64 case, which says, the greatest rock and roll game is about to commence. The Blues Brothers, the new hit action game starring Jake and Elwood. They sent the police into a panic. They whipped the crowds into a frenzy. They redefined rock and roll music. And now they're ready to do it again. Cruise along with Jake and Elwood, those old-time rhythm and blues men in this engrossing platform game on an explosive mix of adventure, comedy, and music. They're killing the vibe, aren't they, of the Blues Brothers with this?
Just a bit, yeah.
Backed by popular demand, the Blues Brothers are out to conquer the stage one more time. To an upbeat rhythm, you set off across town to retrieve your stolen instruments, but it ain't that easy. You got to escape from prison, swim through the catacombs, and shoot to the upper heights of the big city before you can start that concert. Creating constant chaos and confusion, you encounter Marilyn, the hot-tempered waitress, Isosceles, the prison warden, and Bob the burned-out hippie. Get ready to play the blues. At least most of those characters are not in the film in the way that they've described at all. Not that I remember.
Mm-hmm.
According to this, it features Jake and Elwood, the original Blues Brothers, classic Blues Brothers music, one or two plays simultaneously, only on the C64, which is odd, isn't it? Strange that they did it only on the C64. More than 300 screens on 6 different levels, multi-directional scrolling. You're a bit desperate when that's the thing you put on the back of the box, isn't it?
You got to have something, don't you? You got to have something.
I suppose you've got to have something to go at. Okay, Blues Brothers then. It says that in the blurb for this, by the way, the official blurb in the instructions, it's simpler than this. It says, the Blues Brothers' equipment has disappeared. You have to help them find the missing object so they can play the concert. I suppose that is a quite short summary of the game, in all fairness.
That's all you need. That's all you need. At least you know what you got to do.
Each level has a corresponding item. Level 1, guitar. Level 2, microphone. Level 3, amplifier. Level 4, concert poster. Level 5, concert permit. That's it. That's all you're told. No, in order to move on to the next level, you must find the item of the level you're playing. If you reach the flag without the item, a question mark will appear in the items bar. See control panel. You must go back to look for the object. There you go. Kind of tells you everything you need to know about the game, doesn't it?
Yep.
Oh, dear. Okay. The music for this is in the wrong key. All of it.
Okay.
Now, I can't tell you what a catastrophe that is. You have to go and listen to it. And it isn't the fact that I thought my version had an error. I checked it and it's not. It's wrong. And that is so fundamentally wrong for a game called The Blues Brothers, which is basically about two musicians forming a band to replay a concert to save something. To get that wrong, to get the one thing wrong you can't get wrong in this is unforgivable. And they did.
You had one job.
It's so fundamentally off key. It's annoying. And that's, I mean, even our good friend AL82, he makes a note of that as well in his review of this that he's got online, and also the long play that he's done. Thank you for doing the long play, because I didn't get that far into it. But following the loading screen, which is good, there's a nice loading screen of Jake and Elwood in that kind of cartoony style. I like the style of it, and the style of this is a good thing. I'll give it credit where credit's due. It does have the style of a Blues Brothers game. And it's not that dissimilar to the Amiga. The 16-bit versions actually look very good for what they are. They do look nice. And this does look the part. I'll give it credit. So you get a nice... And also the title, sort of the player selection screen is quite nice as well, where you can select one or two player. Now, it's odd because you would think that logic would say you might press one or two for one or two player, or maybe just move the joystick or press left and right or whatever you want to do. No, you press the space bar to choose whether it's 1 or 2 player at this point, which seems really daft, but it's quite nice the way they've done it. There's like a spotlight on Jake and spotlight on Elwood. There's like a crowd at the bottom. It is quite nicely themed. All credit to it. It does actually feel like, the music though is off key, so it's not that good at that point. Most of the upper screen is the game. Once you start the game with the attractive blue and obviously, with the attractive, kind of, and blue, obviously blue backgrounds. I guess that's kind of, it's the Blues Brothers, so okay, it is what it is. But there is some really nice backgrounds for what they are, and the details are quite nice in the style of the game. So they're quite big and bold and quite, very, very Commodore 64 medium res, but they work in the context of the look of the game, that cartoon kind of look they've gone for. And the main sprites actually look really nice, and they're quite well animated too. So I played as Jake, and they look the part. They
do. They are good. I'll give it credit where credit's due. Those are nice Blues Brothers sprites.
Yeah, they look great. And now I only played this 1 player. You can play 2 players simultaneously. And I read in the various places that as problems when you play it that way, because the characters can get trapped and disappear off the screen, and there's all sorts of strange things that can happen. But I didn't try it. I'll just have to take that as read. But whereas the top of the screen looks kind of nice, the UI at the bottom of the screen looks unfinished. And like it was a bit of an afterthought. It kind of looked like they forgot about it. So it's just like a row of random sprites that don't really seem to have a UI. That could have been the dashboard of the Bluesmobile, couldn't it? That could have been anything that's Blues Brothers related. Could have even just been in the inside of the briefcase that Jake carries around with him.
Yeah, it could have been anything that had that kind of iconography from the film. But
but it doesn't have any wraparound. It's just a row of sprites. Your lives, Jake and Elwood on their little tiny images, which look okay. And then sort of the items that you've got to collect to obviously stage the concert at the end, as it were.
Yeah.
You control everything with the joystick here, and there is quite extensive controls for this, I felt. Now, it's pretty responsive to the controls. So if you've got your joystick in there, you can jump and obviously walk left and right. You can squat and crawl by pushing down, and you can jump, and there's also ladders you can go up as well. You can even, when you dive into and climb into pools, you can go swimming as well. You can pick up boxes and throw them with the fire button or the space bar if you're using the keyboard. And you can also enter rooms by pressing the fire button as well in specific rooms in certain areas. So the controls are fairly straightforward stuff in the sense that it's kind of that up to jump kind of, it's old school platformer, really, isn't it? That, which is quite nice. Nothing too complex about that. Okay.
Yeah, it's very simple, yeah. It's a platformer. Yeah.
So the idea is then you run along, jump, avoid, collect stuff, maybe even fly and swim occasionally. In your quest to find your missing thing to get to the end to then go to the next level. That's kind of what you have to do. Most of that is in at least in level 1 is a relatively empty warehouse of crates, platforms, and other things. It reminded me of Batman. I started to get Batman and Untouchables vibes about that first level. Now, it's nothing like that. It's just that vibe. I get a bit uneasy when I'm in a warehouse going up and down platforms and navigating sort of maze-like up and downs.
With crates.
With crates. But it isn't all like that. The graphics actually get better as you go further into the game. And once you get into the oeuvre of it, it's actually not that bad in terms of how it looks. And that's kind of how it plays. So you control Jake, and I control Jake in this instance. But I don't know that is what the benefit of doing the 2-player option is. According to the instructions, let me just find the instructions. According to the instructions, it says in 2-player mode, one of the characters can leave the screen. In this event, press spacebar to recenter the character. I'm not sure that there's, it says in 2-player mode, I can't see that there's any real benefit to play 2-player mode in collaboration with each other than there's 2 of you on the screen. It's not like the game reconfigures so that one has to stand on a thing while the other one has to go and do something else on the other side of the screen. They don't work in that kind of coordination. It's a bit more Mario-esque, I think, really.
Get to the end, isn't it, still?
Yeah, it's just get to the end and there's just 2 of you, and there's no benefits to being 2 of you in the game. You can't like stand on each other's heads or do anything as far as I'm aware. There's no real benefit for it, but it's just fun, I suppose, to play as the Blues Brothers as opposed to the Blues Brother. Maybe that's the thing.
Yeah, I suppose.
But so you're running along, scrolling works quite nicely. There's no real bugs on the scrolling. You can jump around. I found the scrolling a little bit juddery, and I'm sort of a little bit, it wasn't smooth, which was on the C64 annoyed me. And that gave it a kind of bitty quality, which sort of leans more into my parts of this weren't finished for the C64, not finished. And the game was finished when released, but it wasn't finished. The finishing wasn't applied, which it needed maybe another few days of coding just to smooth things out of it.
Yeah.
I like the idea of this, and the implementation for it is almost there, but it goes from being an interesting side-scrolling platformer idea, of which we've had quite a few recently. It quickly becomes more of that kind of, ocean-style, side-scrolling, meaningless type stuff. There's stuff to do, and there's interesting animations along the way, and you do go backwards and forwards and up and down, and there's enemies that sort of get in your way. Some of them shoot at you. They're all a bit dumb, though. the enemies. You can just spend most of your time
Yeah.
jumping over things in this. They don't really present you with much of a challenge. They just sort of shoot annoyingly every now and again. You can pretty much avoid most things.
Yeah, and there's usually a handy crate nearby to throw into them as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. There's crates to throw, but sometimes it's just they'll shoot at you just as you're coming off a ladder, or you've got to make sure you swim across, and there's little catches, but they're more catches than difficulty. There's no real super spikes of difficulty in this, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the style of the graphics on the whole as well. I thought the Jake and Elwood sprites, like I said, I thought they were really good. Their animations are really good. There's lots of subtle animations, and I like that. When he falls, he holds onto his hat. When you get the umbrella and jump upwards, his coattails flap. It's just little details, which I really like. Yeah. Really nice little details. That's all good. So, and the scrolling, while it's a tad juddery, and it also has that kind of, it scrolls too late for your screen position vibe. So you can sort of shoot off to the left and the screen slowly catches up with you. And that's, again, just keep the camera in the middle for God's sake.
Yeah.
And just position the camera better. Follow the player better. Don't have the player able to run 3/4 of the way across the screen before you move the screen, because it's unforgivable and it makes it really hard to really enjoy the experience. The game needs to move at a pace.
Mm-hmm.
The enemies are less defined though. And they're also, like I said, slow and stupid. So you spend time jumping over most things. There's not a lot of difficulty in that. And the collision detection can be a bit hit and miss here and there as well, which adds to the kind of unpolished feel a little bit. It's just not quite fully shiny. I don't know.
I think you compare this to the technical aspects of the first Samurai, and it's not there, is it?
Yeah, or the other games of the side-scrolling ones we played fairly recently. That Rolling Ronnie.
I'm just thinking about a game which scrolls in multiple directions. Rolling Ronnie's left to right in it, so first Samurai's all sound very smooth.
It's all smooth. So it's just, I don't quite know why it isn't, but it isn't. It is what it is.
And Turrican 2 especially. But.
So this is a good-looking game, but it has a couple of really key problems. And how often are we going to be saying this in these coming episodes? I mean, okay, firstly, the thematic's good. Look and feel good. Music, no. And that's for me is a big problem, because a game about the Blues Brothers needs to have really good music, and the C64 is a very capable machine for doing music. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm. So
there should be no reason why the music is off key and not quite right, and yet there we are. It's not right, and that does make you feel a bit weird about the game. And then, of course, aside from the kind of off key nature of that, the music are also, some of it's more short loops. The first level has got a tune that will drive you crazy.
Yeah.
There's so much music you could have based it on in the Blues Brothers that it's a bit unforgivable. But when you've done a crap job of it, it's not good. That's the one thing they needed to get right. Okay. It also needed more Blues Brothers stuff. It needed to be a bit more about the Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
And the Blues Brothers is all about two things: the music and the car chases. Now, to make a Blues Brothers game that doesn't feature a car chase, which is 90% of that film, is crazy. It is crazy. Now, I admit that you could have a getting out of jail level because he's in jail at the beginning, and you could have a get out the tunnels bit because there's a bit where they go into some tunnels. But everything else is principally them in a car or them being attacked or blown up or something silly. And none of those things happen in this. And that is just stupid. Utterly stupid. So, all right, I get the idea. You made a kind of platformer game, and that's what you did with the theme. Fine, okay. But you needed then to put more Blues Brothers characters and more Blues Brothers stuff in there. Where is the Penguin in this? Where are all the famous musicians, and where are they? Where do they appear? Why aren't they in this more often? Why don't they have certain parts of the film as get into sort of like a bonus level or something like that? You could have done a think level where you're in the cafe and you've got to try and get the toast and get the food. Everybody asks for 4 chickens, is it, and a Coke or something, and 4 dry white toast. You could make something of that. Or you've got to, maybe the idea of this game shouldn't have been to just find random objects, but to recruit the members of your band. Because the whole point of the damn film is they've got to get the band back together.
Yep. Yeah.
So what frustrated me about this game more than anything was that all of the elements that make the film are missing from the game. And yes, it's Blues Brothers, and it's got 2 brothers who are blue, and they're dressed like the Blues Brothers, but there's nothing else. And I find it unforgivable, because that's what made it what it was. If you can't get the music right, oh, fine. Then put the car in there. The car's iconic. It's the 1974 black and white Dodge sedan with Illinois license plates, or whatever he describes it as, famous. The sequence where you're getting chased by the Illinois Nazis, where the cars fly off the bridge and fly down, famous. The sequence where you have to promote the band, famous. The sequence where you go and see the Penguin, the sequence where you go to church, famous, all famous. That could have all been in there, couldn't it? And it's just missing. No, I get it. 64K platform game, limited time, and who's going to put that much effort in? But I ask you, what really makes this a Blues Brothers game then? If you've got nothing really right apart from the graphics, and I think that's holding this thing together heavily. So for me, this was a game of utter frustration with a really nice look and feel to it, and it's not the first time I've felt like that. In fact, it describes every game of this episode. Decent looking. Really nice animated sprites, but ultimately everything else is so wrong, so badly wrong and off key being the key thing. Everything about this game is off key, everything. So I didn't like it for that reason. I found it crazy that you'd make a Blues Brothers game and you wouldn't involve anything but the Blues Brothers and nothing that they did in the film. I just can't get my head around that. So I found it a frustrating exercise all said and done. And that was my take on it. That was my takeaway. What about you?
Yeah. I don't think this is based on the NES version. The NES version came out after all the
sort of Amiga version.
Yeah, it'd be the Amiga. It'll be a 16-bit thing and then downported. But I like the two main sprites. They're really good little versions of Jake and Elwood. I do like that. I think they do look cool. Some of the color schemes in the later levels are a bit. I think the second level where it goes all pink. I was like, my eyes. But the game is a rather simple multi-directional platformer, isn't it? And whilst it's not terrible, the scrolling started to hurt my eyes after a while with the colours. It's like it's really hard to look at that colour pink scrolling badly. It's like
yes, it is, yeah.
And as did the use of the blue on the first level, it's really blue. It's all blue. It's so blue. I got Blues Brothers, I get it, but it's so blue. The main loop of music hurt my ears after not too long. But the game's dead easy as well. It's really quite simple. Too easy, you might say. Kind of just sauntered through level one, like, dun, 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 just through a few boxes, kill some. I was like, I wondered how long this would last. I mean, I got a bit bored. The controls are decent, jumping around, lobbing crates at enemies. It's a bit of fun. It just feels a bit lightweight, and you're right, lacks any substance to it. And is it really Blues Brothers? I think you're right.
Really?
That criticism is like spot on. It's like, once again, you've taken. I don't remember the lots of platforming, and this is early 90s game design. What do we have them doing? Well, they just climb around and climb up thingies and float on balloons and things and stuff like that, and avoid birds and run along clouds. And I don't remember that in the film. Wasn't there a car chase?
No.
And there's a bit in the church and stuff. Yeah. There's all those bits, but no, we can't put those in. It's a platformer with Jake and Elwood. Okay. Yeah, it's a bit of a disappointment, really. If you want a platform, Rolly Ronnie's better. And if you want a budget multi-directional scroller, go play CJ's Elephant Antics, which is even better. £11 this, wasn't it? Not enough. Not enough here to warrant £11. It's not licensed again. I get it. It's, you got to pay for the license and full license of full price games. It's just empty. It's just a bit of a weak saunter of a game which doesn't really engage in any kind of way beyond don't know. Just like you said, there's some nice touches, some nice visual touches, and it could have been made interesting, but it just sort of feels a little bit lightweight and a bit thin.
Yeah, I mean, part of me is wondering whether this was it wasn't meant to be a version of the Blues Brothers film. It was meant to be it's the adventures of the Blues Brothers, and they've once again found themselves in this situation. But I think it's just not quite what they paint on the instructions on the box.
It's better than the Blues Brothers 2000, though.
Yeah, that film's, we don't talk about that. I mean, it's easy to think of the Blues Brothers themselves as just the film, and it wasn't. They went on to do concerts and live shows, and there's an entire whole bunch of stuff that happened after the Blues Brothers. It was a phenomenon. But I don't know maybe this game isn't an actual version of that, but either way, it's unsatisfactory, and I maintain off-key music, unforgivable. Yeah,
you're not wrong. I'm not going to argue with you, because I think you're right. So there you go. That's it. That's the Blues Brothers. Left us feeling a bit blue.
It did.
Da-da-dee, da-da-dee, da-da-da-doo. And that's it for this week. What a strong selection of games, really, was it? Not like last week.
Showing. No, we thought it would be, that we were wrong.
Yeah, First Samurai. I mean, you got a 90. What's this? 91% and a 95% are in there. You're thinking, and I've heard lots of good things about First Samurai, but game design was out the window.
Yep.
So it ruined it, really. So that's that one. Tilt, play the other one.
Yeah,
the game. Jonny Quest is as you said, it's a tech. I think you're right. The flashback tech demo on the C64. And the Blues Brothers. Well, it's an okay 6-level platformer, but a bit light on content and a bit easy and a bit not Blues Brothers.
Yeah. Yep.
That's it for this week. Well, what can I say? That's it for this week. next week. What have we got coming up next week, Graham? Well, it's the last part of February. It's only a 3-month thing. Hopefully next week may be better. I think it's quite budgety. It's half. It's 50% budget. So we've got Super Seymour.
Okay.
I keep wanting to burst into Little Shop of Horrors.
Okay.
Suddenly Seymour.
All right, I'm with you.
Very musical episode, this one. Something called Double Dare, which I think is a crap game show conversion.
Oh, gosh.
We've got another one of them. Then we've got The Neverending Story Part 2, the arcade game. So that's the Lionel Hutz thing waiting to happen. My case against the Neverending Story. And then we've got Winter Camp.
Okay.
Which is the follow-up to Summer Camp.
Heavy hitting.
Which is the other cute thing from the cover, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that rounds out February next week, and we're done with the February. We move on. We did a little Patreon stuff at the beginning. Don't think I've got much else to say. You got anything you want to add, Graham?
No. I feel thoroughly depressed after playing that Blues Brothers game. But I'm going to go and watch the movie because the movie's ace, and I ain't watched it in a while, so I'm going to go and do that.
The movie is good fun. Belushi and Aykroyd are always very watchable in that film.
They are.
And the music is great and on key.
I also watched the documentary I Like Me, which was the John Candy documentary that's currently on Amazon. Very good it is too. Well, very tugs on your heartstrings a bit towards the end, but it's very good.
Yeah. It's quite sad the way they sort of stay fat.
Yeah. You're only going to make money if you're fat, and it's like, and he sort of just went along with it.
Yeah.
You can tell it really hurt. You can see it really hurts him every time I say it to him as well. It's quite a tragic film in its own way.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, go watch that. It's good. Okay, I think that's it for this week. We'll be back next week as ever, like I said. So, as ever, I have been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham Raddings.
And you've been listening to Zapped to the Past in the right key. And we will see you again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapTother, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zapped to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.